beautiful weather out here in the U.S. on the East Coast. And with that being said, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 46 of the Deadhead Podcast. And super excited for this episode. It's long awaited. Me and Jan have been clamoring to get Emma from Once Upon a Quest, content creator of Once Upon a Quest on YouTube, to come and chat with us about her playthrough of The Last of Us Part 2. With that being said, we'll get some introductions out the way. But first, Emma, how's it going? It's glad to see you, and we're glad to have you back.
It's going very well. I'm so excited to be back because I know I finished the game a little while ago now, but I'm so excited to actually just delve into it and psychoanalyze everything and look at my kind of reactions to the game now, having it been removed from it for a little bit. I think that your perspective kind of changes a little bit as well. So it's fun to kind of go back and revisit it. Yeah. I'm excited.
Good deal.
Because it was a wild ride, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure is. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot going on, and we're excited to get into it. I know me and Jan have. Jan, before we see how you've been doing. How many times have you completed Last of Us Part 2?
Well, not that many, like 4.
Right.
Just enough.
Yeah,
the perfect amount. I mean, we talked about it more than we played it, I think.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, you know how we do on the Deadhead Podcast. We find any excuse to talk about The Last of Us. So when we knew Emma was finished up with her playthrough, we're like, okay, this gives us some time to talk about it, and we have every excuse in the world to talk about it now. So, but before we get into that, though, Jan, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's actually doing great. Spring has finally come, and this year, or I should say last year, is a year that I figured out that winter is kind of a depression season, and big time. Like I cannot, I'm half as productive. Sometimes I just, in Harry Potter, when they try to explain how it feels to be attacked by a Dementor, they say something like, you feel like you're never going to be happy again. That's kind of what winter feels like to me.
Oh man.
And then spring comes, and then the sun just arrives. It's like the ending of the Warriors when they get back to the, they get back to their home and they see the sun rising and everything feels all right. That's what spring feels like. So I've been great. Thanks for asking.
I feel you on the winter thing. January especially for me is just not my month.
Because it's the heart of winter.
It's so
right?
dark. It's so gray. It's I don't know. There's just also nothing really happening.
Yeah.
I get you on that. For sure.
Thank you for saying that, because a lot of people are like, "Oh man, summer sucks and all that. Winter's very sad."
No, they're crazy.
Dude, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the sun comes out, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so happy."
Exactly.
Sun goes behind the cloud. I'm like, "Oh, I'm sad again."
Yeah, dude. I just forget why I like being alive when it's winter.
Yeah. I used to be the same way. I used to love the colder months. I mean, I'm still like a fall guy. I still love the fall, autumn season. I was born in October, so I'm always feel like my most comfortable around that time. But yeah, I'm the same way as far as, especially now, now that I'm older. And I mean, Jan knows that the people know that have come back and checked out the show. Emma, I know it's been a while since you've been on. I've had a lot of ups and downs this year. Well, a big up is me and the wife. We are expecting our daughter August 5th. So that's coming soon. I'll be a dad.
Congratulations. That's exciting.
Thank you. Yes. And that's the bright spot. There's been other things that have been kind of, not obviously as bright. I've taken a little bit of a hiatus from playing games. I have kind of slowly kind of gone back into it a little bit, playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm halfway through it, and I still have 40 or 50 more hours. Well, I think I'm halfway at chapter 9, and it's 16 chapters, but it's just a lot going on. I don't have much time to really play anymore. And I was kind of getting to the point where, and Jan knows this, so he's heard it, so we don't have to keep going into it. But I've played so many games that for the first time in my life, I just almost don't even want to play video games as much as I wanted to, used to anymore. It's just okay, let me just play a little bit on the weekend, and then for the entire week, I won't touch a video game. And it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. Not to play them as much. You know what I mean? Have you ever had moments? Have you ever had moments like that, Emma?
I'm definitely a moody kind of player. I'm kind of moody with a lot of my hobbies. So I don't know if that's seems like it's kind of a new thing that you're going through where you maybe not feel like in the mood. But for me, I like a lot of different things, and I will kind of totally abandon one hobby and get really into something else. And I kind of cycle through that a lot. So like video games, I really have to be in the mood for something, which is why funnily enough, like doing it for YouTube makes it more of a routine in a way. And it's like you can't just abandon a game, you know, because you don't feel in the mood for it. Like recently in Resident Evil 2, there was a place where I was like feeling really stuck. And I was like, oh God, it just got so much harder. And I knew I was in a place where I was really stuck and like I wasn't really looking forward to playing on. And I was like, if I wasn't maybe recording that for YouTube, I might have like left it like a bit longer than that, you know? So yeah, I've always been kind of moody. I have to be in the mood for things, whether it's like watching a TV show or reading a book or playing a game.
That sounds healthy though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. I know. I feel like sometimes I just have to make myself start doing something and then I'm fine and then I can
That's true.
get it
Yeah,
done.
that
But
also.
like, yeah, I'm a little bit like, I don't want to.
Well, that's a good thing about, like, I think we talked about this last time you were on, when it comes to like making videos where, let's say if you screw up or you get irritated by a game, the best thing you can do is you can cut the video and just walk away and then continue the video later and edit it, right? These people that stream, like we had the Arcane Pain on this year and he streams all the time. And one of the things I was talking to him about was like just getting very like overwhelmed with having to be on a stream and playing a game and having people watch you play. Like that would drive. I tried that a couple times and it drives me nuts. I can't. It's not that I don't like the interaction. I love conversation, but it's just like you said, like Resident Evil 2. There's some instances where it's kind of like it gets kind of confusing, and I don't want to be some bumbling idiot that's running through the hallways over and over again of Raccoon City Police Department, and I don't know where the hell to go. I would hate that. Like I would rather do like a video and I can chop it up and make it look like I did it in 5 minutes when it actually took me 3 hours.
Yeah.
And that's what I would rather do.
I know. Yeah. I haven't tried live streaming yet. So I don't know. I would be kind of afraid of that as well. Like trying to multitask, and I'm very comfortable in the knowledge of like, I'm recording this now and I can edit bits out later. So like if there's a really boring part where I'm just lost and it's not going to be good content, like I'll edit that out. And then occasionally if I have a ragey moment where I'm really swearing a lot and stuff like that, I'm like, nobody wants to see that. I mean, they might want to see it, but I don't want people to see it, like if I have a really ragey moment. But yeah, so if I was live streaming, I think it would be I think I would be a lot more self-aware, and then I'd find it harder to be myself.
That's right.
And that's not fun.
Yeah, and then you'd also have to concentrate, I feel like, on a lot of different things happening at the same time. I mean, I'm sure you'd get used to it, but for me, I'm a bit like, eek, it sounds scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I kind of don't want to get used to, you know?
Okay, fair enough.
Like, you know.
I don't want to.
And yeah, that's not me.
Well, it's different having an audience, right? It's just like if you have, like, it's kind of different if you have like a sibling that's watching you play a game. It's like, okay, well, like they might give you a little shit for playing pretty bad. It's like, okay, whatever. But when you're playing against, like when you're playing around a bunch of people and let's say you just just trash at the game, it kind of just, I don't know, like it's better to, like in that instance, I wouldn't want to have an audience. Like I'm fine with just struggling. I would like, but see, I'm also too, and Jan tells me this a lot. I am self-aware, so I know when I'm trash or I say something that sounds maybe borderline. Like we had, what was the conversation we had on last show, Jan, about? Was it about indie?
The Last of Us, probably.
No.
Oh, that one.
No, okay. It was about indie. It was about playing indie games, and I said that I wasn't really much of an indie player. I said, man, it just if these games just had a little bit better mechanics and looked better, I would probably play them more. And Jan didn't really like that. And I understand, I get it. Like that's the whole point of the indie games. But it was just like, I'm very self-aware that that's probably an ignorant statement. And that's how I've always been. So it's like when it comes to like playing around people, like I feel like if I'm trash, I'll just joke about how trash I am at a game in front of everybody. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It makes perfect sense, dude.
But but anyway, just to move on from that topic, I guess we can get on to the topic of the episode today. The Last of Us Part 2. I actually have The Last of Us Part 2 remastered behind us for the thumbnail this week. We've dabbled with the remaster a little bit. Jan, have you played much of the remaster?
I I did. You know that. I put. I'm sorry, I got confused by. I got distracted by Emma's little.
Sorry, I was just I
Sorry.
was ready for crying. But
Oh.
yeah, because I'm interested in this because I have bought the remaster, but I haven't done anything with it yet. So, but I'm interested to play all the extra content they have. So
Yeah, the lost
how'd you
levels are
find it?
fun. That's as far as it goes with extra content. That and Row Return, which is like something else entirely. I mostly played that when it comes to remastered, which is not.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, it doesn't have anything to do with
the story,
the
right?
main game. Yeah, what we want to talk about here.
That's
Yeah,
right.
but you
That's
get
right.
to like play as different characters with new weapons and new abilities and stuff
Oh
like that. Is it?
no, it's
Is
nothing
that No
like
Return?
that. No.
No.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that is that. Sorry, I got confused with Lost Levels. Yes, that's what it is. It's like a roguelike thing.
Yeah.
You pretty much go through like 6 levels, right? Randomly generated goals
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
enemies and mods, and it's hella fun.
Yeah, that
Dylan
sounds
doesn't
fun.
like it, but I do.
It sounds chaotic as well.
It is.
You don't like it?
I was here. My thing is, I wish it was co-op. If it was co-op, I probably would have liked it even more because I
And I
feel
agree
like
with
it's built. I feel like it's built for that. Like I had fun. Like I've put like probably 4 hours into the no return mode because I was playing it pretty hard when it came out, but then it got kind of boring to me because I feel like as we all know, the Last of Us the Last of Us Online, whatever they were going to call it, the multiplayer
Actions.
they were going to do.
Oh yeah.
That got canceled, obviously, and I just keep thinking about the potential. When I see how no return mode is, I'm like, man, with a group of people, this would be so much fun because a lot of the levels, there's 2 characters, and it's like they literally threw the ball up in the air. All you had to do was swing and just give me co-op for that mode, and me and Jan could be like running through 6 or
That would
doing
be
a couple.
awesome.
So much fun, but yeah, no, it's a good mode, and I think that's the most remastered part of it. Other than that, I feel like it's mostly just the base game, which is interesting in itself. Besides the lost level, there's a couple lost levels. Jan, did you
The
have
lost levels, it's fun. I mean, it's not very fun in a gamey way. It's pretty much what it is. It's cut content, right? You get to play through these unfinished levels with some director's commentary. It's fun, if you like the game, there's more of it. Here's some insight, right? There's like there's one where you get to see like the final scene, one of the final scenes, the one where Ellie kisses Dina at the big party. So that was supposed to be a level at the beginning. Like you get to hang around, the whole town while it's all festive and all. You get to see how it's like. And of course, I don't remember half of it, but as you walk around, pretty much you have the commentary explaining, why they cut it, what you could have done here. There's this little part where some children are playing, and one of the children is imitating a God, what is it called? A clicker. Like he goes, he starts twitching, goes and that's another. The commentary starts talking about how we want to portray how these children are born into this world, right? So the clickers are just something that they accept as something natural. That's part of it.
Yeah.
So that's it's very, very interesting. I really like it. So
yeah, that's cool. That. Yeah, I definitely want to get into that and like see the lost levels and have a little play around with it because it seemed definitely worth the extra tenner to upgrade to it. So
definitely.
Yeah, I was like, I'll have fun with that one day when I'm slightly less busy. Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, it's crazy that anybody. It's crazy that anybody was even making a big deal about an extra $10. Like, I mean, listen, I know money's tight for everybody, but I mean,
I always say, what the problem is? The problem is that they called it remastered. Yeah. That's what the problem is. If they call it director's cut, like what they did with Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima, nobody would have bat an eye.
Yeah.
The fact that they called it remastered, while the original game already had a patch to play on the PS5, that's what got people kind of iffy.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I think we talked about this before. Yeah, the remastered
we did.
In the title. Yeah. So anyway, let's get into the bread butter here. Emma, we'll let you have the floor. Let's get some of your general thoughts on The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh my God, where do I begin? General thoughts. Okay. Right. Well, okay. So, disclosure, going into the game, I was aware of some spoilers. So, also, spoiler warning for anyone watching. You shouldn't be watching.
Yes.
because
Yeah,
we're
no.
going to be going into detail about Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, so I knew that Joel was going to die. Spoiler. I knew that Abby was the character who's going to kill him. I knew that she. Yeah,
You got to play as her.
I think I knew that she was the daughter as well. I'm pretty sure I knew that.
Oh
I think
man,
so. Yeah, I think I did. I can't remember.
that's a pretty interesting detail.
Because it was like it was before I had played, I think, the first game. So I think I was like, I knew the spoilers because I was interested in the actor, like Laura Bailey, who was getting all the heat. So I was just like, what's going on with Laura Bailey? And so I think I didn't really remember, the impact of some of the spoilers, but I did know Joel was going to die. So I did know that going into it. Yeah, but still, it was still crazy. Like I think there was so much more of the game than I ever thought there was going to be. Like I knew that it was going to be Ellie, like mostly her story. And I was expecting Abby obviously to be a playable character as well, but definitely not that much of the game. Like I don't know what I was expecting, but I think I was just expecting to see like a little bit of her perspective or play maybe, like an hour or something as this other character. I definitely didn't expect to play like almost half the game as her. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like that was what was surprising to me. I was like, I couldn't believe when there was like more sub story, like more plot lines, more stories, more characters. I was like, everything was just like, there's more. There's like every time I found a new skill tree or a new upgrade, I was like, how long is this game gonna be? I was like, I just couldn't understand it. So yeah, that was actually really fun though, because that was really like I was totally blind about all of that. So even though I had spoilers going into the game, a lot of it was completely fresh to me and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was going to be in the game. So yeah, it was crazy. I remember being like, what the hell? When is this game going to end? Like, not that I wanted it to end, but I was just like, where is the story taking me? Like, it was crazy. But yeah, no, I loved it. I think the gameplay was really, really fun. They definitely improved on a lot of things from the first game. Yeah, like the weapons are always so fun. I really enjoyed actually getting two different characters with two different weapon sets. I think I actually ended up preferring Abby's weapons in general, just overall. I think what was the only thing I missed? I think the thing I missed the most about Ellie's weapons were the traps. I loved the trap mines.
Oh yeah, the trap.
Yeah, I love those. I wasn't a fan of the pipe bombs that Abby had. I just couldn't gel with them. I was just throwing them all wrong. It was terrible. But yeah, no, really fun. I really enjoyed the differences from the first game. In terms of even just like the movement. I remember like going prone and I was like, ooh, we can go prone in this game.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah. I know I'm rambling now, so feel free to direct me.
Oh yeah. No, I'm actually really, really surprised that you like the fact that you get to play as Abby. Because you remember when the game came out, everybody was bitching about it. There was like compilations on YouTube about people, getting to the point, when the clock rewinds and it says Seattle Day 1, you play as Abby, and there was like a bunch of people raging about it. Oh no, I gotta play as Joel's killer, man. Fuck that, dude. Fuck Neil Druckmann. Fuck this game. Fuck it to hell. Fuck it to heaven. Fuck the damnation of mankind. Well, they weren't going that hard, but they were raging pretty hard.
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty refreshing to see someone, talking positively about it.
Yeah.
And,
oh yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't feeling positive about it. I think I was like dreading to kind of play as her a little bit, and I definitely wasn't. Yeah, it was the story took me on a complete journey there. I think like now I look back and I was like, yeah, that was really cool, and I did really enjoy playing her. But when you first do the switch over, it's definitely like,
her.
No, I don't want to empathize with you. You're trying.
That's kind of the point, isn't it?
To anyone, I was trying really hard to like not care. I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
But I do. I have a heart, so I do care. Yeah, it was fun. It was different.
Yeah, when you first start playing as her, it's almost like you just want to like feed her into every oncoming clicker that you can find, jump off a cliff. Yeah, I was one of those too. Like I wasn't as. I mean, some of these people that get so look, at the end of the day, right? And we've talked about this. Like we're all passionate to a certain degree when it comes to video games. I think that's pretty okay. I think that's okay to say. I mean, I know
Hmm.
with some of these characters and some of these stories, it's like I get so invested, right? And I think a lot of people get invested as well, but in a very toxic manner. Because for me, like, how can you call yourself a Last of Us fan and then just run away when your favorite character dies? Listen, this is a dangerous world that they're set in. Like I am I think I mentioned this last time. Jan knows this, so I'm sure he's gonna. I love The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is one of my
Mhm.
favorite properties of all time. In this story, a lot of your favorite characters they die, and it's hard to get close to them because it's like, okay, if you're not Rick Grimes, or if you're, well, it used to be, if you're not Rick, if you're not Carl, but they killed Carl pretty quick on the show. But if you're not Rick Grimes and you're
Spoilers.
not, sorry, my bad, spoilers. If you're not one of these main A-list characters, you're like, okay, these guys are definitely not making out to the end, which is crazy because in The Last of Us Part Two, obviously your A-list character Joel dies pretty quickly. I mean, what, like within the first like hour and a half, 2 hours. So it's
If at
like
all.
it's very jarring, and I can understand how it is. And don't wrong, I was like you were, Emma. I think we were spoiled at the fact that Joel died. So all of us knew going into it that he was dead. Even if it would have took me by surprise, I probably would have been more like, wow. Like immediately I'm just like, okay, so they just hate Joel as a character. They kill him off in the most disrespectful way. But then when you play the game and you
Mm.
understand. And I think go back to the reason why I bring that up is because when you go back to Abby, I did not, and I know Jan's got something to say. I'll hurry up. I'll finish this.
No, go ahead.
Abby as a character, I was the same way. Like I was kind of like, I don't want to play as her. But then I'm looking at her gameplay. Her gameplay is super fun. Let me just
Yeah.
put that out there.
It's so fun.
Super fun. And she's not she's not a bad person at the end of the day. Is it the best written character? Maybe that's all. That's your own opinion. But at the end of the day, I didn't mind her as a character, and you understand why she went to those links. And I honestly, I don't think anybody that was put in her situation wouldn't have tried to retaliate the way she did. Anyway, Jan, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that, like, I don't understand why people's first reaction when they see Joel's death is that, oh, they hate Joel. Like, I don't understand that mindset, because when I started seeing, like all of you was spoiled about that. I mean, it's impossible to be on the internet and not be spoiled about that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started seeing, I was just overwhelmed, right? Overwhelmed by what that scene, the emotion that this scene gives you, which is like pure rage for this character Abby, right? Man, I was fucking, oh man, I hated her, right? And
Yeah.
and I was invested, as Dylan said, I was invested in this scene, right? And so I find it so difficult. I don't understand how your brain needs to be wired to immediately, first off, get yourself out of the space of the game, right? And immediately think, oh man, like these developers, they hate Joel. Like, how does that thought even spawn in your brain? Yeah, that's just my little tangent. But
Mhm.
how did
Yeah.
you feel when you started seeing Emma?
Yeah, I don't really get that either because I think it's you're either kind of in the story or you're outside of the story. Do you know what I mean? So I think
Right? Yeah.
people reacting that way are not in the story kind of. And they're not there with the characters. They're thinking about meta stuff, which is like
Yeah, they see it as a product. Pretty
yeah,
much
I
just
mean, and I get that. I mean, I get that. You can be annoyed with like video games when they have like poor choice or choice that you don't like or poor design choices or annoying things that might happen in the story that you're like, oh, that doesn't feel right to me or whatever. But you can't be like, oh, they killed off that character because they hate that character or because like they
because
just
they're
want to be
woke.
mean. Like, it's I don't know, you gotta see where they're taking you, I think. And
Oh,
you gotta
definitely.
I don't know, you kind of gotta be in the moment and in the story, like, and you can't be thinking about like, oh, they hate Joel, so they killed him off. It's like, well, no, they've given us an antagonist who's killed him off, and it's obviously done for a reason for the story. And as we find out, like she has her reasons. But yeah, sorry, what did you ask me? What did I think in the moment?
How did you feel?
How did I feel? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the just sense of anger and also fear, like fear of Abby. I was like afraid and angry. I was like, yeah, it was just like this horrible person comes in and smashes Joel to pieces, and And then Ellie's there and you're playing as Ellie, so you're kind of seeing it from her perspective as well. And yeah, you're just waiting for the inevitable thing to happen where she's like beating him up and stuff, but you're waiting for the last hit. And then when it kind of gets confirmed, it's funny, the moment that set me off crying really was when Owen says, finish it, or something like finish it, or finish it now. I think he says something like that.
I'll hurry it up, just something like that.
Yeah, he's like, we gotta go. He's like, finish. He goes, end this or finish this now. And that was the point that I started really crying then, because you know what's gonna happen next. And you're like, this is the end. He's gonna die right now. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I remember just like feeling anger, sure, but also fear. I was like afraid of this person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the worst.
Wouldn't you be?
I think one of the worst parts for me was when I'm kind of, names are not great with me, but it's one of Abby's people, and he spits on Joel after she hit.
Oh, yeah.
That is Owen.
Oh,
Is that
not
Owen?
not Owen. It's
Isn't it?
no, it's
I don't
not.
remember.
Isn't he the
Is it Manny?
the guy who talks in Spanish?
That's
Oh,
it.
Manny.
It's
Yeah, I just
Manny.
confused
Yeah.
them. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Manny.
pendejo.
Yeah, and spits on him. That was the part
Yeah.
that was like, man, like that one hurt a little bit. It wasn't really. Owen was just more like, hey, listen, we're not that far from their community. Like, they're gonna catch whiff of this. Like, finish it and let's get the hell out of here. And then Manny's over here like, oh, burning help and Dejo, and just spits on him. And that's the part that was like, oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
And like seeing Ellie's desperation, all that. She was like, please don't, please. She just disregards it. It's a gut-wrenching scene.
It's a great
acting. Still
great
today.
acting. Yeah. The acting is superb.
So interesting to see it after you finish the game and you know the story, and then you see it, or like you finish even like say the first half of the game and then you see the scene again, but with a different understanding. Tragic. And then when you finish the game altogether and then you start watching playthroughs of it and documentaries about it and obsess over it, and you're like, yeah, God, it hits so different now. Yeah, Jesus. But
that's the pipeline.
Yeah, it's a very tough scene to watch. But what I will say, and what's something me and Jan have, and we can get more into other parts of the game as well. But one of the things me and Jan have talked about was in that scene with Tommy and Joel, as they get to that building before Joel meets his untimely demise. It's, for me, it always felt kind of weird to me that Tommy was just so open about who they were to these complete strangers they found out and about. I always thought that was kind of weird to me. Like Tommy, I feel like he probably would, after he filled him out a little bit, he probably would be like, oh, hey, we don't have somewhere too far. You guys can come back, resupply or whatever. But it's almost like as soon as he met like he met these people and he was immediately like, oh yeah, we got a community. It's just right down the hill. We got this, and I just felt like that's not very like for me. I think Tommy is one of them, and feel free to chime in. I feel like Tommy is one of the most I'm trying to think of the best word for it. I almost feel like he's like the worst written character in the entire story for this game, because I feel like Tommy doesn't really act like Tom. Besides the badass moments, you see this trail of bodies, and you're like, oh man, Tommy's going ham on these people, man. And you're like, oh crap, But Tommy as a person, the way he's talking, especially the climactic point in the game where Tommy goes to Ellie and Dina's house after they're on the farm for a little while, and he goes to her and he's like, hey, this girl, she's been spotted. She's pretty muscled up. She's going around with this kid. Go track her down, essentially trying to push her out the door to go track Abby down. And I just feel like that was really out of character for Tommy, because I feel like he wouldn't want Joel to do that. We know that, but in the game, we know Joel wouldn't want Ellie going on this revenge path. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing, dude. Okay, I'm just gonna reiterate what I always say. Then you can say your piece. But so every time Dylan brings this up, which is a good point. What I always say is that, okay, maybe for the beginning part, I might be right. I might be on your side, like Tom just being so open, like, hey guys, why don't you just, come visit us, join us. That's a little bit weird. But him at the end, right, pushing Ellie to exact her revenge, that to me is kind of the game, the story trying to show us just how much this whole ordeal broke him, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how much he's just a shell of a man, right? He's just he's got a one-track mind, just kill Abby, right? And he's kind of dragging Ellie with him, and he succeeds. So IMO, that I really like that part. I mean, I liked it in the sense of, in a narrative sense, I was very unhappy with it. But
Yeah,
yeah. What
same.
did you think, Emma? Yeah.
Yeah. I think, okay, well, if I go back to the early Tommy, I think that, yeah, he was being very open and welcoming in some ways. I think though, they were running from a horde of zombies. Sorry, they're not zombies. I'll get killed for saying that. A horde of infected. I'm sorry, people. What's the difference really?
Oh,
I mean,
well,
okay, let's not get into this. Oh, actually, one of them hasn't died and come back to life, which is a zombie. But for somehow they're locked in like rooms that haven't been opened in years, and you're telling me they haven't died and come back. Okay, whatever. Sorry, I don't want to piss anyone off. But I've just been calling them zombies by
we always do
accident
that.
all the time, and I'm like, you know what I mean. Nobody get annoyed. Infected and zombies, they're pretty similar. But yeah, so they were just being chased by a horde of these things. They run into Abby, a woman. They kind of save her, and then she tells them, oh, my friends are up in this building up the way. Let's get out of here. They're in survival mode. They're like, we got to get away from the horde of infected that are chasing us right now. So they're like, yeah, let's go with this lady. Let's go. They go to this building, and then they kind of are safe. They get, brought inside. And then I feel like, Tommy maybe on the outside seems very obliging and welcoming and like, oh, we have a town nearby, come and get restocked. But I think part of that is survival as well, because like if you think about it, if you're outnumbered by people you don't know in this kind of situation where it's a volatile kind of world, he's like kind of diffusing the tension a little bit, and he's going, yeah, come down the road. He's saying, come to my house where I have the control. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So on the outside, it might seem like, why is he being so open and trusting with these people? But I kind of feel like it's a little bit about like, yeah, come on over to my house where all of my people can fuck you up. Where if you step out of line type of situation. But like, he's like, okay, I'm in a building with these people I don't know. We've just escaped a horde together, but we have to, I think he's playing nice for a reason.
That actually makes sense. No, that's a good one.
Yeah, and maybe that's a little bit of a darker take on it, because the other take I had was just that, like, they've been living in this community for, a good few years now, and it's been going very well, and they're very happy, and they have a nice, healthy community, and maybe he's just more open than he was a few years ago. So that's the kind of lighter take on it. And then the darker take is that he's diffusing tension purposefully and inviting them into his house where he's in control.
Well, that makes sense. Honestly, that other thing you said about them kind of being a little bit, getting a bit soft, is something a lot of people are complaining, actually. Not about Tommy, though, about Joel. About Joel just saving this random woman, being Abby, right? But that one, I think, is excusable, right? That makes sense, right? Joel is not the humanized killing machine he was at the beginning of part 1. It's completely humane for him to help Abby. The Tommy thing, yeah, you're right. It's kind of gray. It's kind of a gray area.
Yeah. And then if we're jumping forward to the other Tommy scene that you're talking about, I definitely playing the game. I was like, no, Tommy, why? I couldn't understand why he was coming to their house and pulling Ellie back out of this and trying to encourage her to go and hunt Abby down. And I was so mad at him for doing that. And then I was like equally mad at Ellie as well for leaving. But I think, yeah, after you finish the game and then you get a little perspective of stuff, like you see their point of view as well. So I think at that point, Tommy is, he's been through a lot, and he hasn't maybe had the kind of epiphanies that Ellie has had when she literally had a chance to kill Abby. No, sorry, that's ahead in the story. No, but they did have a conversation, and basically Abby won that fight. Ellie was basically let go from that situation. And yeah, and yeah, Tommy kind of was just like injured, you know, with a pretty grievous injury, I suppose, long-lasting injury. And he was probably frustrated that he couldn't go himself. So he was kind of shifting his feelings, I think, onto Ellie. But then also, I think for Ellie, it was like he's almost like her conscience, like personified as well. Like he's like her physical manifestation of her guilt, and like, you know, he was just like, yeah, like, shame on you, you should go track her down. Oh, I'll get out of your house, but I'll leave this map here for you to see.
Like the little devil on your shoulder.
Yeah, but like that's only one part of it. Like he is kind of the catalyst, I suppose, for her leaving, but like she decides that herself. And
oh yeah, I mean,
for
she's
her own
haunted by
reasons.
nightmares, right? And
Yeah.
visions of Joel being mutilated.
Yeah.
Right.
But
still,
yeah, poor Tommy. I don't know. He's like, yeah, he's the only character by the end of the game where I'm just like, what about Tommy though? He didn't really have, you know, I don't know, a proper ending or something like that.
Well, I mean, a lot of things are kind of left unresolved, right? I kind of don't really know what Ellie does after she figures out that it's too late for her to have that, the little love story with Dina, right? That little life they kind of envisioned. We don't know where Dina went either, right? It's we just have this huge sense of loss, right? This whole story, just a huge tragedy that just wrecked everybody's lives.
Right. And her only connection to Joel was playing the guitar. And now that she's missing 2 fingers on her, it's the actual where she plays the chords, right? Is that the fingers that are missing? Is it her left hand? I don't remember.
Yeah.
But like that was her last connection to Joel, and now she can't even play the guitar. It just leaves you in a sense of, because that was going to be really, I was going to leave that part for more towards like close to the middle or end of the show, was really your thoughts on the ending as a whole, because it felt it felt like there was sort of conclusion in a way, but then there's also so many unopened, so many doors that are still haven't been closed, with Abby and Lev are still out there. What happens, with that? Because I even if people are done with Abby, I would like a little bit of closure on that, just to see, what happens with her. Where does she end up? And then you got Ellie, who just walks away. Dina and the baby are gone. I'm assuming they go back to Tommy's community. That's probably where they go back to. But where does Ellie go from here? To go back to Tommy real fast, and I think someone left a comment. I think it comes down to her brother's love. I believe both of them wanted that outcome, Ellie and Tommy, not only for the death of Joel, but also for vengeance for Jesse. That was never addressed either. Jesse, hi you 3, by the way. Yeah, hi to you as well. Thanks for leaving a comment, checking out the episode. Really appreciate it. As far as like Maria, Tommy's wife, I thought I heard some dialogue towards the beginning of the game, and Emma might have a better memory this than us, Jan. But does it seem like Maria and Tommy were they already kind of on the outs, or would you say they were more? Because I feel like by the end of the game, especially with how broken Tommy was, with him being physically impaired, and it's this vengeance road that he was on with Abby, I feel like their relationship was strained as well. Did we ever get any kind of dialogue that explained that? Because I feel like we did, but I don't remember.
I don't remember. I don't remember Tommy and Maria.
If I might interject, no. What does happen is that once Tommy leaves unannounced at the beginning of the game, right, chasing down Abby, Maria, she says to Ellie, well, I mean, Ellie and what's her face, Dina, also tried gonna sneak out, but Maria intercepts them, and she says, "Yeah, I'm not trying to stop you. Please go get my stupid husband back." Which kind of shows that she's really not approving of any of this. So I do think that by the end, it's they probably it didn't end well for them either.
Okay, I just thought there was a piece of dialogue at one point, because it seemed like Tommy was just so gone by the end of the game. And it honestly, the way Emma was talking about earlier, the darker, especially with the darker side of the story, right? When we're talking about Tommy being so open with Abby's people at the beginning of the game, I actually like that theory a lot. Actually, I never really thought about it like that. Like, oh, hey, invite these people into my house, and if you do anything in my house, then I actually like that because I never really thought about it like that. Because if that's the ploy, I mean, Tommy and Joel, this is the kind of thing they did a lot back in the day. We know there's a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
period of time we didn't know what they did. We
Oh.
know they did some terrible stuff.
I have a Walking Dead reference for you there.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Let's hear it.
so you know what I love the most about Carol from The Walking Dead,
Mhm.
the woman, because sometimes the Carl and Carol can sound the same when I say their names. But Carol, one thing I love about her, I call her the Weasel, because she's like, because weasels like frolic and play the fool in front of rabbits to like stupefy them and then like kill them, and I'm like, oh, you weasel, what's Carol up to? Because she's always playing like, she's like, oh, here's some freshly baked cookies I made, but like she's really like hiding guns in the freezer or something like that, you know? Like I just love her so much. And yeah, so like that kind of idea is like, you know, Tommy's like, yeah, come to my house, I have freshly baked cookies, but I also have a gun in my fridge, so like yeah, I don't know, just like a self-preservation kind of thing. Like I think the survival, even though they have a lovely community and everything, I think that self-preservation and the survival and the paranoia is probably still very much there, even though it's like Carol from The Walking Dead, where she sometimes plays up her like doty old lady persona, but oh, you know what's going on underneath.
Yeah.
She's just the best. I love her so much.
Yeah, she's awesome. Great character. And like in the character growth, you talk about the writing of her character, which I feel like especially towards the end of The Walking Dead, it kind of got a bit stale for me. But for people who have been living in rock and didn't watch The Walking Dead, Carol was just a very, you know, she's very quiet to herself. Housewife, was abused mentally and physically and otherwise. And then to see where she ends up and how tough she really is. I mean, she was a real survivor in this world, you know. And I think that's why I'm such a post-apocalyptic fan, and why The Last of Us really sits with me, is because just seeing, I don't know what it is about, it's seeing people go through trauma and then somehow figure out a way to get out of it. And I guess it's kind of like a reflection on real life in a way. I don't mean to get like that deep, but like, you know, we all go through things in battles and things like that. And it's just it's not about what you're going through, it's about how you come out of it. And I think that's why I've always liked the post-apocalyptic stuff, because you got this world that's just like plagued in darkness and things trying to kill you. And we realize, right, what is the focal point of The Walking Dead, Fallout series, The Last of Us, and so many more post-apocalyptic stories? Who's the main villain at the end of the day? It's the people. It's not even zombies. Sorry, it's not zombies. It's not the infected. It's not the walkers. It's not clickers. It's not just it's
damn.
yeah, I think my screen just shut off. What the hell just
yeah, I think you're frozen.
Oh man, I think the power kind of went out on his end. So
are we still streaming? Because if he's hosting, I don't know.
That's a very good question. Maybe. I don't.
The whole stream might be about to drop.
I'm not prepared for this. I don't have like a contingency plan.
Come on, Jan. It's your chance to take over.
Oh man.
It's the Jan and Emma show.
Oh yeah, we can kind of take over now.
So anyway, what shows have you been watching lately?
What shows have I been watching? Damn, you kind of caught me on the spot. I've been watching a whole bunch of nothing, honestly. Again, just got out of depression season, you know. Oh yeah, Dylan is officially out of the picture.
Okay.
What have you been watching?
Are we still live though?
Hello, Tex and Seven says we
anybody out there? we're still live. I'm checking. I'm gonna check on my phone. Hello.
Oh, that's a good way. Yeah.
Yay. Okay, we're still up. And I see comments saying still live. Hi everyone. Sorry, I have not seen the chat up till now. Hi everyone. We're still live. Okay, I don't know how that's happening, but the host of the podcast seems to have had some sort of power cut. But we're still up through the magic of the internet. I don't know. Anyway, so yes,
StreamYard came in clutch. Yeah.
I'm very excited to watch the Fallout show. I have been kind of saving it. I know it's been out for a couple of days. I have a massive deadline this week for college. So like when that's finished, I'm like, Fallout showtime. I can't wait. Because I think that from the trailers, it looks really good. Like I feel like they've gotten the vibe down. and it looks like really
Oh,
good. Oh, we've
man.
got him back.
Sorry.
Oh
Hello.
my God, Dylan, where were you?
I don't know. Like, so I meant to tell you guys. So I don't know what the hell is going on the East Coast in the U.S. We've had crazy winds here, and I think like I'd knocked something out. Like my internet's been weird like all day, and then I don't know what just happened. Just I have like maybe it's just too many things hooked up at one time, or just everything just blacked out. Text N7 said Emma is taking over the world one stream at a time.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
wasn't a power cut. That was me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe so. Maybe she didn't.
it
Maybe
was a
she wasn't.
plan.
Maybe she wasn't liking what I was saying. But anyway, just to close that out, that's why I think it's why I like post-apocalyptic stuff. And I like, the main theme out of all these is that humans are the main villains, and it's not really the monsters or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I
Yes,
was getting.
we are the virus. Oh, I agree.
Yeah, I think it was because you were talking about post-apocalyptic stuff, and then the
Yeah.
world was just like,
Oh.
let's just
Oh,
spook them a little bit.
Hi, you want some post-apocalypse? How about
Oh
How
God.
about no
Yeah.
internet?
Hey, listen, I
Man, that's
love
my apocalypse.
right. Yeah, to some people, yeah. But like I love The Walking Dead. I love these worlds so much. I would not want to live in them though. Like as much as I love blood and
Who
guts
would?
and all the gore that you can get, I could not like being without like TV. Like I was thinking about that the other
Being
day.
without TV.
Without TV, listen, like so me and the wife, we've been watching The Haunting of Bly Manor, right? We've been watching like we watch a lot of old movie series, and now we're watching The Haunting of Bly Manor. I never got to watch it on Netflix, and I was thinking about the other day. I was watching TV, and I'm like, so back in like the 1800s, people, what did they do? Did they just sit here? Like what happened? Like it made me think about it. Like we're passing time by watching TV, and I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell did anybody do?
They were like
Touch grass.
making their own clothes and making their own bread and like
I know,
walking everywhere and
being productive. Yeah, I know.
yeah, all the stuff that we get very easily now. So yeah, they had to go out and tend their crops and all that good stuff. Yeah,
Virgins.
darn their socks. You know, Jesus.
Did you say virgins?
I
Is
did
that what-
say that. I mean,
Oh.
imagine actually working hard. Couldn't be me.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
we
that's-
have it pretty easy. If it was
Yeah, we do.
post-apocalyptic, I'm like, God, I need to brush up on my survival skills because if this happened in real life and I had to fight zombies, I'm like, okay, what am I taking from the house? What is going to be my weapon of choice? What's going to be my character name? But no, seriously, like, how do you start a fire? How do you cook? How do you know what's like a poisonous mushroom and what's not?
Yeah, I
You know,
feel
these
like
kind of things.
I feel like yeah, we're kind of the generation that's gonna die off first.
Mm.
Gonna be
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, you don't
Yeah.
realize. You really don't realize. Like, and I know this is kind of getting off subject, The Last of Us, but you don't realize how much you use technology, right? Until you just like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna take like the whole thing when I was taking a break from playing games, right? Like, and it was a good like 2.5 weeks because I was gonna take a month, and I was like, oh well, if I just play a little bit at a time, and so far that's been working out really well. But like when I completely went like cold turkey, didn't play a game at all. Like I turned on my PS5 to like watch Netflix or whatever, but to not play any games, I was like sitting there. My wife is on the couch watching TikTok or whatever, and like I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I could be reading right now, I could be working out, I could be doing this, but like a lot of the times I found myself just looking at my phone for like 30 minutes, and then I would turn on like something, whether it was like something on YouTube I wanted to watch, maybe one of Emma's playthroughs, I wanted to check out one of those, or maybe like I want to watch another episode of a personal show, because like how I do is like me and my wife, we might watch a show together, and then I have a personal show that I watch, because sometimes she's just not into the same things I watch, and so like I really started to have an issue with trying to figure out other things to do with my time, because I've been in this bad thing of like, okay, if I'm doing this one thing, I'm like, I can't waste all my time doing this one thing. I have to do something else. And I was in that really bad state of, man, what the hell's wrong with me? But then I just got to the point of, listen, if I'm going to do yard work all day, I'm just going to commit. I'm just going to do yard work all day and stop feeling bad about it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, at least it's something that's, productive and it's getting work done. So anyway, that's just kind of my thing. I'm just learning how to do that.
Yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
always something else. Like no matter what you're doing, you're always like, oh, I could be doing this instead. So like if I'm playing a
Yeah.
game, I'm like, oh, what about that book that I'm halfway through reading, or vice versa. Like there's always something that you're like, oh, I should really be doing something else right now, or yeah. But like, it's hard because you want to just enjoy your own time, but then not feel bad about not doing other stuff. But also, I will say, I have uninstalled TikTok for that very reason, where I was just like wasting time on my phone, and I was like, oh, that's an hour I could have like, yeah, played a video game instead, or I could have watched my show or something like that
Yeah.
instead of just wasting time on my phone. So I tried to uninstall TikTok, and now I'm just watching recycled Instagram TikTok reels instead. But
Yeah.
because it's so much worse than TikTok, I don't spend as much time on it. So it's
Right.
working.
Well, see, that's an improvement, right? Baby steps.
It is baby steps. But yeah, sometimes I'm just like, oh, why am I on this when I could be like doing something more fun? But yeah,
Yeah, man,
it's
and I
just
hate
easy.
that
It's mindless and
mentality.
easy. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hate thinking like that too.
Yeah, I had this guy who, like at my job, who was like always on TikTok, like a lot, like I mean, like a crazy amount, and I'm like,
While he's working.
yeah, and so like I'm like, man, dude, like, could you go like 5 minutes without looking at TikTok? He says, oh, you think I can? You think I can go longer than? You think I can't go longer than 5 minutes without looking at TikTok? I'm like, yeah, I think you look at TikTok way too much. He's like, okay, fine, and he deletes it. You know what he does? He pulls up YouTube, and he goes on YouTube Shorts and starts
Oh my
scrolling on that.
God.
I'm like, man, you
That's
poser.
arguably worse. That's just
It's like
that's
it's like
what they call it, brain rot. That's what it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of it. It's a lot of it on TikTok. I mean, listen, like I know we have the Deadhead podcast TikTok page, and there's things to use it for. And what's crazy is, and I think me and Jan have talked about this too. It's like with how the world is now, where we're so used to watching like 15, 20-second videos, it's
Mhm.
really hard for someone to sit down and watch like how you do, Emma, like you do a playthrough that's 45 minutes to an hour or
Mhm.
whatever. Let's say if I want to make a video about Scream 7 movie news and it's like 14 minutes long. Who wants to watch that shit when I can go on TikTok and watch a 20-second video that tells me everything I need to know? Like it really
Yeah.
sucks. It almost makes you not want to. It almost makes you not want to, but it's like I love making videos. I just haven't had a lot of time to do so. As you know, there's a lot to it. So but it is kind of crazy how the world is now. The entertainment and the attention span, it seems, it's gotten smaller and smaller.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
yeah.
So now imagine how you would be in the 1800s or in the world of The Last of Us with like all this time, and like you don't have,
Mm.
yeah, you have to like make your own entertainment, and like that's what's so
Oh,
cool about like when they find a camera or a guitar or something. I think at one point in the game, Ellie or someone says, I'm sure someone's still making movies out there, because I think it's kind of early on, and she
yeah, it
finds
is. Yeah.
a camera or something when with I think she's exploring with Dina, and she's like, I'm sure someone out there must be making movies. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like kind of a really nice thought, because there probably is someone out there who's making films in the world of The Last of Us
Mhm.
somehow. um I don't know, I just thought that was kind of cool to think about. And like there's
No,
somewhere
it
like
is.
somewhere out there is like this crazy filmmaker who like makes clicker videos and stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that I kind of feel like this time we're living in, I kind of like it in a sense that, if someone is making movies right there, even like the smallest movie maker, his movies are being distributed. We have access to all these products, right? All human-made products, and in a way, I think that's very nice. But yeah, as Dylan says, we are kind of going down a pipeline of very low quality products, and we're kind of setting for it, and that's not nice. But in general, I kind of like. I feel I've been thinking about this. I feel like today we are living in we're living in a time where we are surrounded by stories, right? We're surrounded by stories. We are. Okay, it's kind of a tangent, but it's something I've been thinking about. You know how usually when they're in some like movies or whatever, they talk about some ancient times, like times before technology, industrial revolution, all that. They talk about, oh, back then where magic still existed, right? Because they talk that like now magic is gone, right? Now everything is dull and gray and awful. I feel like I feel the magic now more than ever, because I feel like now we are in touch with everybody else, and we are getting in touch with so many different cultures, right? And I keep talking, I keep talking about stories, because really stories are how is the most effective way to get access into someone else's culture, right? Like think about, it's going to be like a weird thing to say, but think about like the whole anime explosion in the West, right? The whole anime boom. Those are stories in the end, right? Portrayed in a unique manner that was very fascinating to Westerners, and that kind of made us more interested into these. This is kind of what I'm talking about, right? I feel like there's a lot of potential in today's time, and it's being wasted on like 20-second shorts about I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, humans are like fantastic and also incredibly stupid at the same time. It's very fascinating.
That's true. Humans are super intelligent and also super stupid at the same time. Yeah, but I do think there's definitely a lot of short content now. I've definitely noticed myself with like even reading articles and stuff like that. My attention span is so small, but like there's definitely still like room for long form content as well as short form. Like that's definitely still true. Yeah, so I don't know if it just comes down to what people feel like watching at the time. But yeah, there's definitely you get used to the shorter attention span for sure, but then there's still loads of demand for like long content. And sure, even films in cinemas are still like they're coming out like 3 hours long. I'm like, why is it so long? But yeah, that happens so much. I don't know.
But it's more satisfying, right? When you actually put in the time to observe something that's longer, that's been made with a little more finesse, right? It's made that has a little more detail, a little more, a little more depth to it. As example, Dylan talked about how he wanted to make like a video of Scream 7. And he said, well, why do that when you can watch a short, right? Well, honestly, I hate shorts like that. I hate shorts that kind of dump you a bunch of information, usually with an AI generated voice. I cannot stand it. I would much rather, have like a very human voice, maybe cracking a few jokes, or at least being charismatic, right? The way only a human can be. And having that voice kind of present to me in a much more eloquent manner the information that I'm seeking.
It just made me think. It just made me think. You saying that just made me think. I don't know if you guys remember, especially like it still happens now, but especially like towards like that maybe after the golden ages of YouTube, whenever someone would do like a blog video, this is how they start. This is how they started out each video. Hey, what's going on, guys? Like they would be talking like so fast, and I hate that.
Blogs all of YouTube.
I hate that. I will click off the video immediately because I can't stand that shit.
Yeah,
like it's these people still do it, and they make millions for making videos like that. Like I like people like Emma. She seems like herself. Like I feel like when I watch one of the reasons,
like a human being.
One of the things that stood out to me, and again, I'm not, Emma, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. But it's like one thing I really like about your content is that it always seems like I'm getting your personality. It's not like you're really trying to be a different person. I feel like what we see here, and obviously we all put on, like I put on a face when I'm on camera. Like you don't ever know who they are. Like I could literally cut off the camera right now and like just start breaking shit. I mean, it could happen. I'm not saying I am that guy, but I'm just saying that could happen. And so like what always came off to me, and one of the reasons why I reached out to you a while back ago now, is because I like people that make like they're themselves when they make content. I find that very admirable. And I think, honestly, I find that the most entertaining. And just it goes back what Emma was saying. I think there are people that still love the longer form content. Maybe not always, the hour long videos, but the longer form content, because it just comes down to the content creator. It comes down to the person, right? Like if you're a very charismatic person, you can make a 4-hour long video. And I don't think anybody would have an issue with that. I think it comes down to who's making the content. Now, if I had somebody that was going, hey, what's going on, guys? Like I couldn't sit there and watch that for 4 hours. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. But I think a lot of that's personal preference too, though, because like some people want the high energy and they like that, and that's what keeps them engaged. And then for other people, they want a real chill, like vloggy style thing, and I watch like both types of those contents. And again, it might be just like a mood thing as well. It's like I'm in the mood for something upbeat, I'm in the mood for something slow. Like yeah, there's definitely, I don't know, I think a lot of that's personal preference because yeah, a lot of people love the high energy stuff, and like I can't bring that because I'm definitely more laid back, and that's perfect for me, you know. That's because there's people who vibe with that, and then there's people who want something a bit more like high octane.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then there's different, yeah, there's like different purposes for like, yeah, sometimes if you want to watch a video that's just like a bit goofy and crazy, that's great. And then sometimes you just want to like put on something chill in the background, maybe while you're doing something else. That's more of a like reading books on a rainy day in Glasgow. I like put on reading vlogs and stuff like that all the time when I'm just like want something that's chill and that goes on for like half an hour. Yeah, and then sometimes you want like a 5 minute like this, you know, crazy like high energy like just silly stuff, like whatever it is. But yeah,
like a Mr. Beast kind of thing. I just gave $5 million bajillion to a guy that I don't know.
yeah.
Right. And I mean, what he's doing is great. Like, and not to go into that, but like, I like that, but I've always felt like, so when people like to put, and it's okay, like if you like that kind of attention, that's fine. But there's some people out there who just do good things just so they can film it and look good. Like to me, I find it more, and it might just again be where we all come from and where we were raised. But like, I don't feel like I need somebody to talk about like what they did. It's just more of like for Mr. Beast, from giving all that money to the different countries and having more filtered water and stuff. Like why do you have to film it? Like if you're gonna do it, just do it. Do it out of the goodness of your own heart, man. But I know at the end of the day, it's content and people like that, and it's just not for me.
Yeah.
That's
going to be the end of the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the bottom line,
I
mean, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's always going to be like people who are genuine doing things like that, and it's always going to be people who are doing it for their own reasons too. But I think it's kind of easy to spot as well, you know, like those types of videos where they're like setting up like situations where I think I actually seen a lot of parody TikToks about that subject where they're like going up like with their camera really close up to like a homeless person, and they're like, hey, would you like some money? And then they're like doing selfies and they're like, here's some money, and it's like parody of like that exact thing, and it's like, hey, yeah, I bet a lot of people do that. But I don't know. But we've definitely derailed a little bit from the topic.
We did.
Hey, that's how we do. That's how we do over here.
We roll.
We talk about a topic and then spiral out of control. Yeah, what you got?
Okay. If if Joel and Tommy had a TikTok account, what kind of content would they make?
Oh well, I mean, I can see Joel making like some amateur like guitar videos, right? Guys, here's me. It isn't me trying to make like a Texas accent, by the way. So guys, hello, without any editing. Just so a lot of you people ask what kind of guitar I use. Well, I'm using a wood stock, whatever, 5-inch or 5-stringer. I don't know. And you know, you've been requesting this song for quite a while, but excuse me.
Yeah, and he's like, here's one I made myself, by the way, because he makes his own guitars. Yeah, those he totally would be doing music TikToks. Okay, what would Tommy be doing?
I can. Dylan, do you want to take this?
Well, I was gonna say, like, all right, so for what I would think, Joe, like, so the guitar thing's good. I think also too, like, you know, you'll see there's TikToks of making like different like coffee, like making coffee and putting and making different like a Joel special coffee or something like that. I could see him doing that. Like you know, we know he loves coffee, so I think that would be pretty cool. For Tommy, I don't know. That one's gonna be a tougher one. I have to think about that one.
We don't know too much about it.
Yeah.
My first guess was he could do something like you know those videos of like people just building stuff, like, you know, like a house chores, like, you know, just people doing, oh yeah, I fixed this thing without the use of a carpenter or whatever. I didn't need to call a carpenter. I can see Tommy doing that, right? You know, showing you Gen Zers how it's done.
Yeah. And maybe like tips on how to shoot a sniper rifle as well. Like,
maybe.
Yeah. You gotta allow for the drop. And but yeah, I like the DIY.
That was actually pretty good, actually.
yeah, that was good.
This is so fun. Okay, I'm glad I asked this question because this is so hilarious. Okay, and what would I can't see Abby on TikTok for some reason.
No.
But maybe she would be making like buff gym videos.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
yeah.
she'll talk about her favorite protein shake. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh, I love this idea.
Sniping tips with Tommy was awesome. Yeah, really. Yeah.
That would be good. Sniping tips, yeah, definitely you could do that one. So I think Emma's right. We have derailed a little bit. Let's get back a little bit more into the story a bit more. I know we've mentioned these characters, but we haven't really talked about them too much. Emma, since you're a little bit more fresh on the subject, what do you think about the supporting characters in this one? Dina, we got Lev and
Yes.
the sister. We got Jesse. I believe that was mentioned by Tex in
Jesse.
7. Who else we have? Is there anyone else? Oh, and then you got Abby's crew. You got Owen. You got them.
So Dina is kind of the hot one.
Yeah.
I mean, the hot topic is what I mean.
Okay, well, let's start with Dina then. What are we thinking about? What do we think about Dina?
Yeah, Dina was so important because I think for Ellie, it was her first. I think she's maybe had other romances before, but it was like her first love. It felt like anyway, like definitely her first. I think her first time being with a girl. Maybe I'm not sure about that, but it felt that way. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it felt like her first real love anyway.
That's serious, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
Which was exciting, and that made her, because I suppose in the first game it's like Ellie and Joel, and then in the second game then you have a new kind of person who's Ellie's kind of real emotional tie, and so she became so important. But she was cool. She was feisty, she knew what she wanted. And by the end of it, I just, I don't want to keep fast forwarding to the end, but by the end of it, my heart was a little broken for her. Yeah.
So you're kind of into their dynamic, Ella's and Dina's, I mean. Ellie's and Dina's.
It was nice to see it. It was nice to see it because I think Ellie, it was about, I think 4 years or 3 years after the end of the first game, something like that. So it was nice to see Ellie becoming more of her own person and existing in a community like this. So like seeing, that's why I loved even seeing her bedroom at the beginning, like, and seeing all of her stuff and her personality coming out. And even though like we've seen a lot of her personality in the first game, but like really making space for herself and how she interacts with the other people around her, and like, so seeing her blossom into her first love, I think was really endearing and really cool to see. Yeah.
No, I mean, I do agree with that. Dylan and I, we kind of have this this thing we a little bit don't like about Dina, is that we feel like her relationship with Ellie kind of evolves very weirdly, right? At a very weird pace. I don't know if you remember, but when they were scouting together at the very beginning, that's when Ellie also talks about movies. Dina is kind of making her, kind of making some moves on her, which is very charismatic, as you said. But Ellie is being a little bit aloof. It almost seems like she's very annoyed by her moves. At least that's the impression I got. Like Dina says, I don't know, she says something flirty. I don't remember. And Ellie goes, she just grunts or something like that. And then you fast forward to them exploring Seattle, right? Which is not too long after. And all of a sudden they're calling her babe, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just, I don't know, just taken aback by it because I felt like I missed something, right?
Right.
But
but
other than that,
it did happen quite fast, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that when you read like Ellie's diary, I think she has entries where she talks about having a crush on Dina for like ages. So she's had feelings there for a while, and then Dina was like going out with Jesse for ages then, and then they broke up, and then pretty much straight away then she started making the moves on Ellie. But like Ellie had written in her diary about like crushing on Dina. I'm pretty sure she did anyway. Or she implied it anyway. I think she wrote it explicitly, like, I'm crushing on this girl. So yeah, it did. I suppose it did happen fast because it was like they were just starting to kind of flirt and get together, and then everything happened that was super serious. And then Ellie was like, I'm going off on a big revenge mission, and Dina was like, I'm coming too. And I remember thinking, oh, you're gonna die. You're gonna die, because she's like the girlfriend, the love interest. She's like obviously caught up in the romance of being like, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. We're in love. I'm going to, I'll go with you. And I was just like, she's dead. She's gonna be dead. Because I just I just kind of was like, that's what's gonna happen. And yeah, spoiler, that's not what happens. So I definitely thought that Dina was a goner. But yeah, I guess it does happen then fast, because it skips, I guess, a couple of weeks, is it? I guess while they're traveling to Seattle. So
Yeah,
they're just on the road alone,
I
going
accept
out.
that. No.
Yeah. So we kind of missed their early relationship stage, I guess. But yeah, I guess it was, I guess it was a bit like, oh, okay, we're going out now. But I was just like enjoying seeing you. I mean, you can tell, I think Ellie might be just awkward with the flirting. I think that I don't think she was annoyed at all. I think she was just like kind of embarrassed and like a little, shy. Like if you're shy around someone you fancy and you're not sure how to react, and they're very outgoing, like if they're very charismatic and outgoing, you might be a little bit shy. But I think that's more so what it was than her like rebuffing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, honestly, per Jan and I's our conversation when we talked about this, I think the journal entries definitely makes a whole lot of sense. Honestly, I'm just gonna be completely honest. I read some of them. I don't know if I read every single journal entry, so I could have very well missed it. I do wish though, and so I know we're gonna kind of jump around here, so we can kind of run back to it, but I always felt, and I think I've told Jan this on several occasions, always felt that The Last of Us Part 2 kind of feels like it should be The Last of Us Part 3. I kind of wish there was a middle game that kind of, one, shows Joel and Ellie's relationship diminish, right? Because we know that obviously they're not as close, and they're definitely not that close when it comes to part 2. I think I would have liked a little bit more of that. I also think, and I think that Emma, we like to hear a little bit more about that, as far as like, what do you, as far as like your opinion on Abby as a whole and her story? Because in my opinion, I think that I would have liked Abby way better if we would have got more time with her in like, so if The Last was part 2 was part 3 and we had a middle game, I think that would have been great to input a little bit of Abby in there. Maybe we don't realize that Abby's dad is the Firefly scientist or doctor that gets killed at the end of the first game, and we find that out towards the end of part 2, and then in part 3 picks up the way we know it, how it plays out. I know I'm getting kind of confused here, but how part 2, we see that story in part 3, and I think if we would have got a little bit more time with Abby in the game that I'm talking about, that obviously doesn't exist, that I wish it did, I think it would have made Abby's story a bit more, give a little bit more, flush out her as a character, like her a little bit better, because I see what they were doing with part 2. But one of my things is, it's just, you've already made me hate Abby so much that, or not like her that much. And then when we get to the nitty gritty of her character and we find out, hey, she's not a bad person. She did what she thought was right. And at the end of the day, was she wrong? No, she wasn't wrong for killing Joel. I think anyone in her position would have. But I think I would have liked just a bit more time with her, as well as a little bit more time with Joel and Ellie. I know it would have depressed me a little bit, but just to see that diminish. Also, just to go into the whole journal entries with Ellie talking about Dina and saying that she has been flirty with her and she has this crush on her, but she's with somebody else. I think that would have been cool to see, as far as a filler game between the two games, kind of like what Final Fantasy VII, the remake series, is doing. Only me and Jan got some ideas about that, because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has a lot of slow moments. They're trying to pad out this long game, and there's a lot of slower moments. So you don't want that. But I'm just saying, like, I think a middle ground game between part 1 and part 2 would have been really, really cool, just to flush them out a little bit better. But maybe what do y'all thought? Well, I guess really the first question is, Emma, do you like the execution of Abby's story? Does it make sense the way they did it? Would you have liked a little bit more, or are you fine with the way things played out?
Yeah, I think if we got any more of that in between story, like it wouldn't be the same payoff, kind of, you know, like the moments that we have those flashbacks in the game felt so precious when they came up, you know, like they were revealing so much of the context. And I think that was like, I think that's what they purposefully obviously wanted, was to shock the audience into feeling extreme emotions towards someone and then try and redeem them in their eyes, or at least try and inspire like empathy. You know, like the whole game is definitely like, how can we like make someone who's really, really hateable and actually get people to empathize with them at the end. And I think if you had a filler game, it takes away a lot of the, because a lot of, yeah, it's funny one to explain, because a lot of the game has missing context. Like we're purposely not allowed to know the context until they reveal it to us in certain points, certain flashbacks. Like, yeah, so a lot of what we go through is without understanding the wider context of like even Ellie and Joel's relationship and the fights they've had, the conversations they've had, the forgiveness scene as well, like massive to reveal that at the end and not earlier on. And then I think watching the documentary for that, they even talked about like where to place that scene, and they might have been thinking about showing that earlier on, but like it hits so different seeing it at the end. But yeah, I think if you had a filler kind of episode, filler game, then you would lose all the payoff. Like, I don't think it wouldn't be the same, you know what I mean? Even though like we would love to see more of that period of time. Like that's the thing as well. I think what it is that we want to see them happy. We want to see the happy years because they had such a horrible time in the first game, really. And then by the time they get these few years living in Tommy's community, it seems like a really nice place to land, and you can imagine them having this great life there and like finally feeling safe. And then you start the second game and it's just like tragedy pretty much straight out of the gate. But yeah, you kind of really wish for those happy years. You're like, oh, I wish I could have seen that. But I think the story would have been totally different. Like, yeah, it kind of needed to be cruel, and like I guess leaving us wanting for the happy moments made it even more sad, like, as well. You know what I mean? Like finding out the conversations between Joel and Ellie, like that meant so much to me. Like I was like, I couldn't wait for these flashbacks. And whenever there was flashbacks, I was just like listening. And whenever they had a conversation about what happened at the end of the first game or anything like that, I was just like listening. I was like, I have nothing to say. I just want to listen because, yeah, I just like was craving that knowledge of the context of like what happened before. And yeah, it feels even sadder because you know that there was these happy kind of opportunities that we didn't get to see, and now we're just into tragedy, and all of the happy moments that we witnessed in flashbacks are bittersweet because we know what happened afterwards. So it's like, oh, I kind of do wish we had a little more knowledge of the years before, but
I think I would have liked, if anything else, I would have liked, because honestly, I agree with most everything said. When it comes to Joel and Ellie, I actually, really honestly, I'm actually fine with the way they did it. I'm more for Abby because I think it would have, honestly, for me, and this is obviously I don't make video games for me. I think it would have got me in the feels a bit more, because especially if you made me fall in love with the Abby character, and like you get her struggles and you see what she goes through, and you have a little bit more of a game to know what happened. And then so the end of part two, like I said, the end of this metaphorical part two, Abby finds out her dad's dead. And then part three, it's exactly the same way it went. You see Abby, maybe she's a little bit older, and like if everything played out the same way it did, I think I would have been even more conflicted. Like I was conflicted by the end, like especially with the final fight scene, and Abby, she didn't look like herself. She was beaten, and she's, you know, with who are they? What are these group of survivors called at the end of the game?
Rattlers.
Yeah,
the Rattlers. Yeah. So she's with them. She's been, I mean, neglected of any food and water. She's like on this post. She's just shriveling away, and she's pretty much not even the same person at this point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would have made me feel way more emotional about it, because we knew it's, again, just like we know Ellie, right? I think it would also, we knew Abby as well, and we got more time with her. And so when you see this big climactic fight between the two, it's like, I don't want to see either one of them die. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was still with my first playthrough. Now, my second and third, I understood a little bit more, but my first playthrough, I was kind of like, you know what, man, if Ellie's going to commit and kill Abby, just go ahead and do it. So I was like, all right, you know, like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't, I like it. It's such a dark it's such a dark final sequence. The fight
Mm-hmm.
with Abby is so dark, and it's like at that moment, especially if we had that middle game that kind of went into a little bit more of Abby stuff, I think it would have hurt even worse. Like trying to kill Abby, because it's like, man, I knew this girl and I knew what she went through, and now she's not even who she was before. She's not even at her peak performance, and we're trying to drown her. You know, we're trying to kill her, and I
Mm-hmm.
like thinking about it just makes me like shrivel up a little bit, because it's like I do like Abby as a character, but I just know how much more I could have appreciated her if we had that little middle ground. Maybe not a full on
Yeah.
game, but just like that little middle ground. Maybe like a, I don't know, maybe not DLC, but kind of like, something along those lines, if that makes sense. Jan, did you have
Mm-hmm.
something you wanted to add to that?
Well, honestly, I think that Emma, you said it in the most, like, everything that I meant, you said in the most eloquent way possible, way more eloquent than I ever could, right? Yeah, every time
What did
that
I say?
every time that Dylan proposes this theory, like it's not a theory, it's his idea, right? Of what? Oh, part two could have been part three. I always kind of rebut that pretty much with what you said, and that is, it would have been a different story. What you're looking for is a completely different story, right? Because this is
Mm-hmm.
not a story about. I mean, at the end of the day, it is, right, a story about, two people who are both neither good or wrong, or but just doing what they think is right? And tragically, they clash, and everyone around them suffers for it. But I feel like every time you talk about it, right? The way you talk about it, like, and I hate to say it, I don't mean to diminish you or anyone by saying this, but it feels very Hollywoody. It feels very, you know what? Okay, let's set up all these characters. Let's plan for this big epic story, and this is not what this is about, right? This is a story about, kind of deconstructing the human character, right? Deconstructing what revenge is all about, reconstructing what love is all about, reconstructing what hate is all about, right? uh, Emma, you said that when you first saw Abby, you were angered, but you were also very scared. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, if we had Dylan's hypothetical, um, it's not an interjection, kind of intermission, you obviously wouldn't have felt that because you know this person, right? Maybe you would have
Yeah.
felt something else, and maybe it would have been great. It would have been fantastic. Who knows? But this is not what they were shooting for.
Yeah.
As you said, they were shooting for, making you absolutely despise this person, and that show you that, hey, you know what, you're in absolutely no place to judge her.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of showing it in your face, and also, seeing. I think that we all agree on this. That the way they set up the flashbacks was just fantastic. Kind of it gives you a little bit of reprieve, because like the present is so dark and it's so depressing. The colors also so mudded. Everything is gray or dark blue. Then you go to the flashbacks. Everything
Mm-hmm.
is bright.
Mm.
It's like we were saying about winter and spring. The present is winter, and the flashbacks are spring, where
Yeah.
everything is so bright and cheerful. And then and then you actually do get to see it. You said you wanted to see the degrading relationship. You do get to see it in the flashbacks. You see how, during the first flashback, it's Ellie's birthday, and they're just having a jolly old time. Joel is teaching her how to swim. He's showing her the dinosaur museum or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, you see Ellie kind of doubting Joel. Kind of, she doesn't want to, obviously, like, she loves him incredibly, immensely. But she's kind of like, you know what, Joel, your story, as I grow up, as I think about it, it kind of doesn't make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to doubt you, but I kind of feel like you're hiding something from me. And then
Mm-hmm.
you have clearly the scene where she figures out, what's up. But the biggest, punch in the gut is the very final scene when you figure out that actually they did kind of make up with each other,
Mm-hmm.
but it's too late, too little, too late. another YouTuber that kind of talked about his feelings about the game. He said that what's tragic about it is that he feels like that Joel dies when he does. Is that it's almost as if Ellie all the time she's thinking about during these flashbacks, thinks about, man, I had these 2 years with him. I think it's 2 years, 2 years with him where we just kind of ignored each other, or or just I ignored him and I despised him when I could have just cherished these moments. If only I knew I had so little time with him.
Mm-hmm.
The YouTuber name is Adam McDermott, by the way. Just dropping him there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that was a masterfully, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't have liked, what Dylan is proposing here, but I can guarantee you I would have liked it less than what we got. I can guarantee it, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think what I will say to that is, I'm disrespected by the Hollywood comment, Jan. Thanks a lot for that. So I'm just looking at these Americans. They just want guns.
I mean,
blast it away. I'm not asking for
kinda.
that, you piece of shit. All I said was the middle look. So all I was saying was I agree with most of what you guys are saying, because I've played the game. I'm on my third playthrough now. Every time I play it, I enjoy it a little bit more, because I think I start to realize, because like the first time I played it, I was like, okay, it was a good enough experience, but I love the first one. The second time I played, I was like, okay, I had more fun with this. I understood it. Still love the first one better. America, hell yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
So the third time I'm playing it through with my sister. She's a senior now in high school, and I find myself enjoying it because I love the world and I just love how dangerous it feels. I say a middle game because for me personally, like I just think that by the time you get to the point where Abby kills Joel, like it's such a slap it feels like a slap in the face, right? Because I think what a lot of people wanted was another Joel and Ellie adventure across the states. That's what a lot of people wanted. I personally can say, like, and I just, without a shadow of a doubt, I really wouldn't want that, because I felt like I said the same thing. I felt that was a bit too Hollywood in a sense. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like, again, I go
more
back
of the same.
I go back to The Walking Dead, right? And I bring that up because they're very, very similar in a sense that, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where the group goes to, whether it be the farm or the prison or Alexandria or the sanctuary or the kingdom or the hilltop, and you can keep going and going with all these communities that are introduced. There's always danger. So there's never really truly a happy ending, in a way. And so, like, and I think that's why I like it. It sounds bleak as hell, but at the end of the day, and I think Emma made a comment earlier about just surviving, right? We're just trying to survive. We're trying to live with whatever we've been blessed with or whatever you believe. And I think just having a little bit more context with Abby. So if I had a middle game or like a DLC that kind of gave a little bit more of her backstory and showed a little bit more about her, and like the whole thing of Abby, her fear of heights, right? I actually really like that. I like that story element. It makes her feel very vulnerable. It's just another side of her that I really like, because I don't like height. I don't like heights either, and I'm not a very deep water person, right? Those are my vulnerabilities. So I could really relate with that. Like when she's up on the scaffolding and she's trying to go across, like that was a very intense part of the game, where Lev is just walking across these scaffoldings and Abby's over there like crawling, just trying to get to the other side of the scaffolding. And it felt very real. If they would have explored that more in her childhood around Ellie's age, I think that would have been cool. And it just made me love her. And that way, when you get to part 3 and she kills Joel, it almost just feels like, wow, they really pushed it to that point where this character that I love, maybe not as much as Joel, but I do love this character. They pushed her so far that she killed a beloved character from the first game. And so, like, I guess what I'm saying is like I'm fine with the way it is, but at the end of the day, I think a little side or a little divider game would have been really nice, because I think it would have changed because one of my major complaints with part 2 is I feel like I don't want to say a basic revenge story, but it's a revenge story that we've seen a lot. We've seen this whole, like, what does revenge lead to? At the end of the day, especially in this story, there's people lost on both sides. There's no winners, and I feel like everyone's a loser at the end of it. It doesn't matter whether Ellie kills Abby or not. Does that bring back Joel? No. Does Dina and the baby come back? No. They're fed up with their shit. They're not coming back. I mean, maybe if they make a part 3, maybe they kind of forgive it. But let's be honest, it's probably not gonna happen. So I guess what I'm saying is, I by the way, I'm not offended by the Hollywood joke, because I think at the end of the day, like, maybe that is too good to be true. And obviously it's not going to happen now. But I just think if we got a little bit more time with Abby, I think it for me, but I think it would, especially by the end of the game, I would have felt more emotion towards her as a character, because I knew her of how great of a person she is. She did what she had to protect her and her own. And I mean, how can you be mad about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, okay, I kind of see what you're saying. Maybe they're like very ambitious, and this game is already very long as is. Maybe they did cut some, some Abby time. But, what I meant by the Hollywood remark is that
it's all good. It's fine.
No, I just want to explain myself. It's about the it's about Disney. Maybe it's not even
America.
Hollywood. It's it's about British versus Hollywood. It's this how we this oversaturation of content in a single story. It says we have to know absolutely everything about everyone, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of franchises, as long as it gets popular enough, we got a shit ton of spin-offs. We get a comic, we get a movie, we got a TV show, we got a little ARG that's in a little blog. Like, come on, dude, like, enough, right? And I'm not saying that obviously you're not, of course you're not. But when you start talking like that, it kind of starts, ringing some bells here. It's like, okay, it's like a pipeline, right? It's a slippery slope. You start thinking like that. You start thinking about, side episodes and little DLCs. And that's where you end up, right? You end up in this very intricate mess of a story where, a newcomer is just lost, right? A newcomer doesn't even know where to start, where to go on. And I would really dislike The Last of Us to become one of those franchises.
But Abby's a main character, though, so like it's kind of different as opposed to, like, let's say for instance they did one about Jesse, right? If we did a DLC about Jesse, not that I don't like Jesse, but I really don't give a crap about having DLC about Jesse, in my opinion. But Abby, because she's one of the titular characters in part 2, that's the only reason why I said maybe a little story, just to give a little bit more backstory in that. Because I agree with you too. Like, look at Star Wars, right? I mean, good God, how the hell do you keep up with that bull crap? And then, like, you got Disney with Marvel, right? Like, I gave up on Marvel like 5 years ago. Like, I don't even know where to start anymore. I'm gonna watch Daredevil.
Worse. Yeah.
I'm gonna watch the new Daredevil show, and I'm probably not gonna know what the hell is going on, because they're probably gonna reference like every single show that's happened in the past 5 years. And I'm like, I think I stopped at Loki. I haven't watched any more after that. So it's like, I get what you're saying about that. And again, like, this is all like dead on arrival now, so it's not going to happen. But I just, me personally, I would have liked it a little bit, and that's really why I wanted this whole thing. It was really just ask Emma if she thought that the way Abby's story turned out was, if you would have kept the same, it would have had a little bit more closure on her end. But
yeah, I know what you mean though, because you're kind of like saying that maybe like your first playthrough, you didn't feel as attached to Abby maybe as other people did, or that kind of thing. And like, I definitely went through, I was definitely like angry and scared of her, and then I went through the whole thing where I was like, I really trying really hard not to like you and trying really hard not to feel empathy to you. And by the end I was like, yeah, I didn't want either of them to die in that fight. It was kind of crazy, because you're like, wow, we've been through so much now. I do empathize with this character. But that being said, when they have their confrontation in the theater and you have to play as Abby fighting against Ellie, my first reaction was just like, what if I just let Ellie kill me? Like, I did do that. At one point I was like, yeah.
That's a hard boss fight. Like, when I first did it, I thought that was pretty difficult, man, trying to run away from Ellie, because Ellie kept finding my ass. Did you guys have any issues with that?
It was tricky. It was hard. Yeah. Fighting against Ellie, I was like, God, she's annoying. I bet I was making me think of, like, I definitely didn't play her annoying enough when I was playing her. I was like, God, the AI is so annoying. I walked into her traps and it was so hard to sneak up on her. But yeah, that was fun. It was fun. But I was definitely at that point, I was just like, yeah, what if I just let Ellie kill Abby? But by the end, by the end confrontation, I was like, no, like there's a point where you're sinking the knife into Abby as Ellie, and I had to stop pressing the button because I was just like, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah, that's some Clockwork Orange shit. Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, so by the end you're kind of like feeling that, but yeah, Ellie
Yeah,
kicked my ass all up and down that theater. She's tough. She's tough to fight against. Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
bow and arrow as well. Like, oof.
Yeah, she was tough. Actually, like to get off on the I know get off on another tangent. Before when I stopped playing games, I was kind of like dabbling with. Everybody was shitting on the game, and when people usually do that, I'm like, oh well, let me check it out because I might like it. And that was Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. And let's be honest, the game is it's below average, but there's a part of the game, and this I hope this isn't too much of a spoiler. They show at the beginning stages, but you go into this like museum. I think it's the Justice League, like some kind of museum for the Justice League, and they have a whole like Arkham part of the museum that has like all the events from the Arkham games because this is in the Arkham universe. And in that little part of the museum where you're walking through, the lights cut out and Batman is hunting every member of the Suicide Squad one by one. And it's actually really, really cool because the reason why I made me think of this is because Ellie, she uses the traps that we use when we play as her. She's using those on you. Well, Batman's like hitting you upside the head with a batarang. He's throwing smoke bombs down and grabbing you and hanging you from the ceiling. And it's really cool. It's like it's weird being on that opposite.
Yeah.
I like it when games do that. So I'm sorry, that was kind of a random thought.
I mean, that's what part 2 is all about, isn't it? Kind of putting you on the spot, on the opposite end.
Yeah, it's king of that. So, so obviously, we kept mentioning we've mentioned the end of the game several times over. So, me and Jan have talked about this several times. But Emma, what when the eventual part 3 happens, Neil Druckmann has said part 3 is coming, probably, but he just doesn't know when.
He has an idea for it.
What can we expect in your opinion? Like, is this a continuation of Ellie's story, continuation of Abby, or is this like new characters? What do you think?
Well, I think he said specifically that it wouldn't be a continuation. I think, didn't he say something to that effect, or like that it would be a separate story, but in the world? I think, didn't he? I can't remember what he said now. I don't remember, but it made it sound like it was not going to be about Ellie or Abby. That's the impression I got from it, from the way he phrased it. But I don't know. He could be throwing us off the scent. But for me, like by the end of part 2, I'm like, what more can you do with these characters? For me, I'm like, what more can you do? And I'm sure you probably could do more with them, but finishing that game, I was like, what more can you do with Ellie? What more can you do with Abby? That's just how personally I kind of felt, So I think that they would probably move to a different character. And someone definitely suggested, I think someone was saying in the comments, they were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have a Tommy spin-off, or maybe Tommy would be cool as a character for the next game. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense as well. But I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it could be. What if it's just someone completely unrelated to the main cast that we've seen so far?
So my only
loose tie-in,
Yeah, my only thing is, I think now I do remember Neil Druckmann saying this. I think he was saying that in The Last of Us, with the way he's writing it and his team at Naughty Dog, I think the whole thing with them is like, without Joel and Ellie, there is no Last of Us. So I think in some way, shape, or form, he's got to have them in the story somehow. So like, I guess if they were to focus on different characters, just like with Tex and Sam said, I think he said it would be different characters. I think that's obviously probably the most organic way to do it, right? You would focus on other characters, but at the same time, I do feel like I think there's a YouTuber. I don't watch him often because his videos are just kind of spotty for me. But there's a guy named Luke Stevens. Have you guys? I know.
Oh yeah,
Luke Stevens. Have you heard of that? Have you heard of him, Emma?
I don't think so.
His videos are like, dude, his editing is like out of this world. But anyway, that's besides the point. He made a video. Well, I think it was a live stream, but he cut it up into a video. And someone had asked him like if they made a part 3 or the next part, what would they do? And he mentioned something about like the first, and I don't know how cliche this would be, but maybe the first game it starts out as a different group of characters, different community or whatever, and then like halfway through the game, this community is being like attacked, and you find out the attackers are Joel and Tommy. And I think that would be kind of wild if that's what they did.
Ooh.
I think
Yeah.
that'd be kind of cool, but I don't know if they'll do it or not. That might be a bit. I don't know. They killed Joel. That's pretty risky, so they could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That is one period that we have never seen.
A lot
We've
of
never
people want to
seen
see it.
in any flashbacks. It's only been alluded to. So that actually is a pretty good theory, that what if they did something with that? Because yeah, it's really only ever been mentioned, and we don't know the details of what Joel and Tommy were up to, other than they used to ambush people, basically, is what
Yeah.
Joel basically said.
And some.
Oh yeah, we used to do this. We used to jump people and in whatever, in cars going by and stuff. So you're like, yeah, that is one huge part of their history that could be very interesting to see.
Yeah, and some really dark shit could happen because Tommy. What was the thing that Tommy said to Joel in the first game? Like, I'm still have dreams and nightmares about the things him and Tommy did. So that would be wild to see. And like I said, we don't know much about it, so we don't know who Joel and Tommy are running with at that time. Maybe they're running with a group and they attack a community. That
Joel was a hunter for a time, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah,
in part one, he says, "I've been on both sides." That's how he knew that the hunters had a little ploy.
He ain't even hurt. Bam, and then slam right into him.
Yeah. So we know that we don't know the details of what they were doing, but if they were ambushing people to just steal their stuff, steal their cars, whatever. I don't know if they were like, I really hope we don't find out that like, oh yeah, we used to be cannibals or something. Could you imagine if they were like, reveal, oh yeah, we used to be cannibals back in the day or something?
Oh
no, they
my
won't do that.
God.
But that would be kind of hilarious. But no, I'm joking.
I really I hope that's not true. That'd be horrible.
No,
Jan, what you got?
I don't know the details of what they did, but I do remember, I think I got the vibe from that Tommy seemed to blame a lot of that on Joel, or at least associate a lot of those kind of bad memories with Joel. And I think, is Joel the older brother?
He is.
He's the older brother. Yeah.
And
so
Tommy does resent him a lot in part one.
Yeah. I think that's the kind of vibe, is like Joel was probably maybe leading that life, but I don't know. Yeah, we don't know. That would be juicy to find out what was going on back there.
It would be tough to watch. If they started acting like the hunters in part one, where just gun people down and then check what they got on them, and they figure out they got nothing of value. So just murders these people for nothing. If you see Joel doing stuff like that, that would break me probably.
Yeah. Oh God. What if that's what it's gonna be, isn't it?
I'd rather see them be cannibals, honestly.
Yeah. What if they just throw in a little surprise? Like they just try it. It's just like a 5-second like flashback where they're just like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. And then they cut back to the rest of the story.
All right, just nonchalant. You just throw it in there. Drop a fun fact like that.
Tommy's like, is this too much? This is too much, isn't it? And Joel's like, yeah, it's too much.
It's too much.
Like
back to the main story. Yeah, it's like, oh, we got Tommy and Joel. Because isn't Ellie like saying to Dina at one point, she's like, yeah, Tommy and Joel used to, back in the day, they were up to no good, or like they used to do some dark shit. Or Dina was saying like, yeah, I knew Tommy had some dark past, but whatever, they talk about it. And I'm just like, imagine if we got like a Scrubs flashback to like what was going on. It's just like all mad shit that they were trying out.
Yeah, I could say like Joel and Tommy are sitting in like a fire or something, and Tommy's like, yeah, you remember that time we ate that guy's leg, and then they have like a Family Guy cut. That's what made me think.
Yeah, and that's why they hate. That's why they hated David so much in the first game.
Oh yeah,
because Joel was like, "Oh, I can't let anyone know that I know this guy."
Yeah,
David.
Jan, just to remind everybody, I mean, what did you ever have like a thought of what the next part of The Last of Us could be, or are you right where Emma's kind of at, where it's like a different group?
You know what? I think that like Neil Druckmann's little twisted mind is just unscrutable. but I would like that. Which you guys said, it wouldn't be a sequel though. Then it would be actually that technically it would be a midquel, but
Midquel.
uh,
Did he say?
but
Did
yeah.
Druckmann say it would be a sequel or not? I don't think he said
I don't think
I think he
chronologically
said like a load of nothing. Like he said a lot of very ambiguous phrases, a lot of ambiguous sentences that
yeah.
really
Yeah.
don't confirm absolutely
You could
anything.
tell that he was struggling to talk about it because he's obviously got
Mhm.
some things in the works. Because, like, I mean, for him to say, like, I think that's why the internet lost their minds, because for him to sit here and go, you know, at the time, I didn't think there would be a part 3, but he said, I had some
Yeah.
ideas, and I highly doubt if we don't ever put out a part 3, because it's a
Mhm.
story that he has. So it's got to be something that's deep. It's going to be sad, like Emma was talking about. I feel like it's definitely going to be sad. I mean, especially if you go back and you do kind of like what I'd said that Luke Stevens had mentioned in his live stream about halfway through the game, you see Tommy and Joel kill the survivors that you start with at the beginning of the game. Like that would make the first game, like, I wouldn't say harder to go back to, but when you watch the first game, you realize really how big of a piece of crap Joel is, which you kind of know that, at least how it was, you know, back in the day before he met Tess and everything. But and even when he was with Tess, it's not like he was a saint. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean he was very humanized.
Yeah.
Bring on the Tommy game. He said he had something sitting on the shelf. Yeah,
Who,
I
Tommy
think.
did?
No, I think he said. I think he's
Neil.
talking,
Okay,
I think he's talking about Neil. Bring on the Tommy game. He said he had something sitting on the shelf. Yeah, I mean, I think a Tommy game would work. I mean, if you want kind of that you know, masculine, you know, Miller brother type Last of Us game, I think that you have it. You do have it in your arsenal, and I mean, I'm definitely down for it. I just don't know what you do with Tommy outside of part 2. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what? If we learn more about Tommy, then maybe we'll be able to speculate what kind of TikToks he would be making.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Think about that, you know? So
yeah. It's Tommy making TikToks, and then the apocalypse happens, and then
God.
But no, if it was a Tommy game, then yeah, maybe it could be exploring that period where it was Tommy and Joel being naughty boys, you know.
Yeah.
Went
But then
down on the
also,
Nautilus.
maybe also flashing back forward to the present or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Tommy's story. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
There's interesting options there.
And we're probably, like, as much as we theorize, we're probably all gonna be wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Neil's gonna do a Neil, you know.
Yeah. Now, hey, you talk about Hollywood. Now, I did just have a Hollywood ass way to bring Ellie back into the story, but it would only be like a 5-minute cameo. It's like, let's say they do the whole, you start out with characters, new characters, halfway through the game, those characters get killed by Joel and Tommy. So then you finish out the game with Joel and Tommy. And then wherever they end up, the last 5 minutes is you just see Ellie at a campfire, and she's a little bit older, and she's talking to a group of survivors, and she's telling them the stories that she heard from Joel and Tommy. And then
it
cuts to black.
Smoking a cigar or something like that, right?
Yeah. No, I don't know if I like that.
And they go like Joe Miller. Oh, Joe Miller. Oh, that's a name.
Yeah, no, that would be pretty rough. But so overall, though, Emma, you love the game. Is it a game that you could go back to sometime in the future, or was it too depressing to go through the first time?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I want to replay the first game as well, because I haven't replayed the new version, the remaster, remake, whatever it's called. I haven't played that, so I'd be definitely interested in going back and playing that version of it. So I played the 2014 remaster. So I really want to replay that version. I'm just waiting for it to like come down in price at some point, and then I'll pick it up. But and then part 2, I definitely would replay it again. I definitely need some space from it. Even coming back to the first game, I'm like, I really want to replay the new remake of it. But I think that like right after playing the second game, I was feeling a bit too upset, like over, like I was like, oh, if I go back to play the first game now, it's going to be tainted with all of this sadness and like tragedy. But like having a little bit of a break now in between, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling a bit more ready, I think, to go back and revisit the first game first, and then probably replay the second part at some point.
Mhm.
Yeah, because the first game is like, yeah, see, now it's always going to have that undercurrent of sadness because you know what happens in the future.
Yeah.
That is true.
But anyway,
Yeah. I will say though, definitely whenever you can play part one, I'm sure Jan part one again. I'm sure Jan will agree with me here. I had so much fun revisiting the first game. One, I just to get reacquainted with that story. It's such a it starts off kind of, simple and basic as we know. Things, you got this cure, this little girl might have it, got to take her across the country, stuff you've seen before, but it really is, you always hear like it's not the destination, but it's the journey. And like that game, dude, the middle, the entire game is so beautifully written. But the gameplay, the atmosphere, it's just
That
it's unmatched.
soundtrack.
It's
That
yeah, it sounds
Beautiful.
better coming from that. Yeah, beautiful.
I know exactly which part you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Yeah, it's great. So definitely when you can play part one again, I had so much fun. I think I beat it like 3 times within the first like 2 weeks I had it because I was just having such a blast, man. And Jan, he's a completionist, so it's like I don't, dude. He's got so much more patience than I do because I've tried to complete both of those games like platinum because I've beat them both a couple times over now, and whenever I try, I get frustrated looking for these little firefly tokens everywhere and all the optional dialogue. And it's just, give me a freaking break, man.
Yeah, I'm not a completionist either. I'm just like, YOLO. Making my way through the game. Like, oh, well, whatever. Like, no, because I'm very impatient as a person and I don't like replaying bits. So that's partially why I feel like I get ragey if I keep dying and I have to go over things again and again. Because I think that's part of it. It's just like I hate repetition. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm not a completionist. I very rarely would like replay a game as well. So yeah, so that's interesting. So yeah, I would replay these games though. Yeah, but it's rare for me to want to kind of do something again, even though I might love something a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just impatient. So like getting platinum trophies, I always like look and I see like what are they asking for, and I'm like, God no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it's funny that the Last of Us platinums are some of the easiest out there, right?
Whatever, man.
Okay, let's go, Dylan.
I can't.
We have homework.
I accept defeat, man. I can't. I've tried.
No. I don't want no shame, people. Like it's really. It's just
so
something I like to do. It's just a hobby,
dude. It feels so good. Like the thing is, like when you get that platinum, it's something about like just hearing that ding. You hear that ding pop up. You see the platinum trophy. Like when I got the Final Fantasy, so I did platinum a game recently. Jan knows this. I platinum Final Fantasy 16. But it took me a long time to do because after I beat the game,
platinum Last of Us. I'll tell you that.
Right. Well, yeah, I know, but it felt like it was more attainable because I didn't have to collect every like single little. Anyway, whatever. So when I completed that one 100%, like it took me like 6 or 7 months to do because I played it through, I enjoyed it, and then I took a little break and then came back to it. And I tried to do it with The Last of Us because I've beaten the first Last of Us like 6 times. I'm on like my 7th playthrough, and then I just kind of, I'll install it for a little while, I'll play through it, and then I'll delete it, and that's my relationship with The Last of Us. It's just on and off, you know what I mean? Just a side hoe kind of thing, not a full commitment. But anyway, so that's how I played it.
The Last of Us.
Dude, I love The Last of Us, but I've beaten it so many times. Like I already know what's gonna happen. I watched the dialogue and everything.
How could you call her a psycho?
Anyway, Jan, is there any more final thoughts on The Last of Us? Because I want to move on to one more thing before we get on out of here.
No, I mean, I just wanted to capitalize on the fact that Emma, you did say that you like it. You don't like repetition, but you like this game so much, including part 2, that you would play them again.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, with a little bit of a break, especially after the second one, because it was a lot. I think the first one's going to be easier to revisit because it's kind of a happier story, and like there's still a lot of bad stuff that happens. But it's it's generally a happier story. Like you've got the classic like unlikely alliance. who like come to love each other by the end, and it's like this beautiful new kind of like relationship, even though all this other awful stuff is also happening. And then the second one is like really not a happy story at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I would, yeah, I think I definitely would go back, especially because the gameplay styles as well and the different weapons and things. I think you can, experiment with different things,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
definitely.
Oh
you play
yeah, it's
something
awesome.
the first time, and then you kind of get to know what you like by the end. But then if you were to go
Dude.
back and replay it, you're like, oh, I know that I like this weapon, or I know that this is a good technique. So you could probably have a lot of fun, like doing
Yeah.
something different next time. Or
Sidebar,
Yeah.
Ellie's SMG that she gets at the end of the game, it's kind of
yeah,
like
very short-lived.
that gun is awesome. I'm playing with obviously you can't use it all the time because it's really hard to find ammunition for it. But man, I have a gameplay up of where like I think there's a sequence where you and Dina are about to go into a bank or something, and the doors are wide open, and you can hear the infected on the side, but you can't see them. So anyway, I threw a bottle at the door. All of a sudden, you start hearing clickers and shit, and they're running after you. And like I threw a Molotov, and I killed like 2 or 3 of them, and they were still coming at me. And like I jumped back, and I landed on my back, and I had the SMG in my hand, and I felt like Rambo. I was just like, and man, I'm telling you, it was so much fun. The gameplay is awesome in that game.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great. Like it's some of my favorite like movement combat in any game. Honestly, like I can say that without shadow of a doubt.
It's gonna be done in like so many different ways too. You can like sneak past them without
Yeah.
killing anybody, or you
Mhm.
can just fucking mow them down.
I just
Yeah.
I like murdering everything in sight. So I'm sorry. I'm American again.
Yeah.
So anyway.
No, I'm like that too. I was like, yeah, I would try my best to stealth, and then I would just end up fighting anyway. But yeah, the people that say that you can do, or not the people that say, the people who made the game said that you can do it without killing like any of the dogs except for like the one scripted one. And I was like, oh my God, that would definitely take a lot of, I don't know, extra stealthiness and time and effort to manage to avoid killing all the dogs, because the dogs were so hard in that game. Like they were really tough.
They were.
Like Jesus. So yeah, killed so many dogs. Sorry.
The MP, yeah, I
Do
know
what you
that's
gotta
hard.
do.
The MP5 is definitely badass. I agree with Tex. But anyway, to get off Last of Us, I want to hear a little bit before we get out of here. I'm sure me and Jan would like to hear about your Resident Evil 2 remake playthrough so far. I haven't been able to check out any of your videos yet. That is a game me and Jan are very familiar with. So
Oh yeah.
let's hear some of that.
And
we won't go into full detail, obviously, not like we did with The Last of Us. But I mean, what are you thinking so far? I mean, I can probably tell from the way you're dancing that you probably like it. So
I'm having a good time. I was having a great time. The whole time during this game, I was like, God, I'm having a great time with this game. And then I got to the sewers, and I was like, God, I'm not having a great time anymore.
Oh man.
Oh, the
Yeah, the sewers
sewers.
always the worst, aren't they? Like in any game.
Oh, so bad. And like, so I filmed, so I was enjoying the game. I was making solid progress every episode. That was all grand. And then I get to the sewers, and I'm like, the map is really confusing. The enemies are tough. By the end of like my first sewer episode, I had like absolutely no ammo. I had fought really tanky things. I was like a little bit confused about where I was going, and Jesus, the map was just all on different levels and stuff. And I had failed at solving a puzzle as well. So I was going like, right, what am I going to do next episode? Because it felt like I was maybe a little bit stuck, or like when I played on again, I was going to be having problems with not having ammo and stuff. So I was feeling like, oh God, this like just got really hard. And then I put up that episode, and then loads of people said in the comments, they were like, oh man, I hate the sewers. Oh, the sewers were the worst. Oh, every time I play this game, the sewers are the worst. And I was like, oh, that made me feel so much better, because I was like, yes, everyone else also like kind of felt that way. Like most people were saying like, yeah, God, the sewers were really tough, or like my least favorite part of the game. And I was like, oh, this makes me feel more more justified that I was feeling so like awful. But no, but then I continued playing on, and I made some progress, and I felt a lot better about the sewers then, but still wouldn't like to live there.
Well, who would?
I mean,
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
Yeah, but in general, no, it's really fun. I'm really enjoying the it's obviously a more modern game than the one I played before, but I'm still like recognizing all of the things that are like, oh yeah, the stash, the chalk brother, like these things are the same, like the kind of layout of this map, even though you're in a police station, you're like, oh yeah, it's like the mansion map. So like when I kind of first played it, I was like, how different is it going to be, because it's a more modern like remaster remake. But yeah, I was like, yeah, it's actually given me the same vibes as I got with the first game. And yeah, I'm enjoying it, having a lot of fun playing as Leon at the moment. And then I think people want to see me playing as Claire when I finish
Oh, you got
as
to.
well.
You got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have the B scenario, right?
Yeah.
You
So I
can't
will,
get the
because
full story without playing as both characters.
right. So in the first game, I didn't do that. I just played as Jill. I completed the
Mhm.
game. And then in the second game, people seem to be telling me that Claire's story is more important, maybe, to see the two sides of this game, maybe, than the first game. So, like, I wouldn't have known that. As in, like, for me, I'm like, oh, I'm picking out of an option one or two characters, and that's how I would experience the game. But unless for people telling me like, oh no, you got to play it again with the other
Mhm.
character to complete the story, I wouldn't have known that. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so I think that now I'm probably going to do that. Yeah.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Resident Evil 2 remake is it's it's classic. I love it. For me, like I dabbled with the original one. See, I was like, so I was, I was born in the mid '90s, so I was still very very young at the time. Like with Final Fantasy VII, like the original, I didn't really dabble in any of those games. So I was much older because I played a lot of Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, things like that. So I never really got into those more like horror, because one, I was scared of them, and the second was just I thought they were just a bit much for me. But the Resident Evil 2 remake was a weird one for me because I love Resident Evil 7. So that's when they really went back to the horror feeling of the franchise, because as we know, pretty much with that Resident Evil 4 through 6, it kind of started to get more action heavy, not as
Yeah.
scary. I feel like the Resident Evil 4 remake helped with that, because Resident Evil 4 remake was very grounded in horror, but it did have a lot of action stuff in it as well. But yeah, but Resident Evil 2 remake was one of those games that I wasn't, when it was first announced, when it was coming out. I don't know what it was. It was just a weird time in my life where I wasn't really as excited for it. But I remember being one of those games that, like, I could not put it down. It was kind of like, for me, like, and I think I mentioned it last time you were on the show, Emma, and I know Jan's about to take a shot right now. Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of my
Yay.
favorite games of all time. I love that game. And I think it's because I'm so invested in that world. And I remember I couldn't put the controller down because I loved it. And so Resident Evil 2 Remake was the same way. I was playing it, and it's not a very long game, but I played so much. I just loved exploring, especially the Raccoon City Police Department. It's so detailed, and there's so much. That police station is fucking wild. There's so many places to go, and it's my favorite part of the game. And I'm with you. Like, I feel like after it leaves the police station, I feel like the story kind of, it's not bad. It just doesn't really pull my interest as much. I love that initial setting of where it's at, but yeah, it's amazing. I love it. Me and Jan were having the comparison of, we didn't know. I think Jan made up his mind. I'm still kind of mixed on, do I like Resident Evil 4 remake up over the Resident Evil 2 remake? I think just one focuses more on horror, one focuses more on action. So it's like, it's just hard for me. Like, I could probably choose one or the other any given day, but I still, because it's still fresh, Resident Evil 4 remake, I feel like, is probably my favorite. But yeah, 2 remakes awesome. Jan, what do you got?
Resident Evil 2 is king.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
It's king. Yeah, it's you know what? I do understand why people don't like the sewers, but I like it so much that I even like the sewers. Man, I love the little puzzle with chess pieces. I love everything about it. I love the little interactions between Leon and Claire. It's just a joy. I love every single cutscene. It's just fantastic. I love the puzzles. You know what? I'm just rambling here. It's fantastic. And
Yeah, I feel like if I was playing it for the second time, and like I was a bit more familiar with the layout of the sewers, I would probably be like, oh yeah, it's not so bad. But your first time going in there, and me as well, like just being like never knowing where I'm going. Like, generally I find it hard to know my directions in video games, and like looking at that map where it's all on different layers, and I was just like, where the hell am I? Where am I going? Like, it was so overwhelming. And then like having to backtrack through like the tanky enemies and stuff, I was just getting a little bit stressed out. But like I could definitely see, like, the more you are familiar with it, then you're like, oh, it's not so bad. It's really, the
funnier it
sewers are
gets,
really
yeah.
lovely this time of year. But yeah,
This time of year.
the first time going in there, you're just like, oh shit, this
Mhm.
is different. And yeah, I missed the police station. I
Yeah.
knew where everything was.
You know, the police station is great, but I mean, I think that story-wise, it just gets better as you go on,
Mhm.
especially as Leon with the whole Ada thing. Not spoiling anything, but Ada
Yes.
is just great.
Ada's fun, yeah. Resident Evil 2, 3, 7, 8 are incredible in my opinion. I'm excited to play the rest of this series. I have so many more games to look forward to.
Oh yeah, and just stick to the main ones. Like,
Really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so no Revelations?
Oh God, no! Please
Really?
don't.
Okay, because people have given me the play order, and people have suggested to play the Revelations. Okay, we have strong opinions here. Tell me.
I mean, here's the rub. So I'm the one. Not only am I a completionist in the sense that I like to complete a game 100%. I like to play an entire franchise 100%. I want the whole experience, right?
Mhm.
And with Resident Evil, it just made me completely backpedal on that. It made me go, you know what? Maybe I don't need to complete every single franchise.
Oh
And
wow.
Revelations was the one that did it.
Oh
When it
god.
did me in, I was like, okay, you know what? Okay, I mean, the story is stupid. Like, it's not even. I'm not even gonna call it bad. It's just, it's demented. It's completely. It's not even. It's something like that a 13-year-old would come up, right? When it's thinking, oh, if I did a Resident Evil game, I would make it like this.
Okay.
That's what the story is like.
Yeah.
It used to be like a Nintendo 3DS game, and it feels like it. It's not horrible by any means, but once you get used to how smooth and great Resident Evil 2, 3, the remix, I mean, and 4 and 7, even like Resident Evil 4, the original, is just it just leagues better than the Revelations.
Yeah.
It's just, it's clunky. The puzzles are, it's I think it's like it's an affront to the word puzzle to call them puzzles. It's and it's overall just really not a fun time. It's really not.
Okay.
But
so stick to the round
yes.
numbers. Just 1, 2, 3, 4.
Except Code Veronica.
Okay. Which is
It's
that not a Revelations thing? Oh
no.
Which one is
Code
that?
Veronica is to be a little nerdy. It was supposed to be Resident Evil 3, but it came out on the Sega Dreamcast originally, I believe. And Sony had at the time had kind of a deal with Capcom with that all the main games were supposed to be on their console. So some spin-off game became Resident Evil 3, and Resident Evil 3 became this Code Veronica, which is it's pretty much a continuing. It's a sequel to Resident Evil 2 because it follows Claire and spoilers.
Okay.
It's yeah, but it's on the PS4. It's on the PS Store. You can find it anywhere.
Yeah.
So
okay, so that one's good.
That one is good.
Yeah.
Some people don't like it. I really do.
Okay. And what about Resident Evil 0? Did you play that one?
I did play that one.
What about that one? Is that good?
Also very, you're better off not playing it, honestly.
Really?
It has it's better than Revelations. It's way better than it's more like the Resident Evil 1 remake, except bad. So I mean, it's just it's like a prequel to Resident Evil 1, and by prequel I mean it's set like 5 hours before Resident Evil 1. You play as 2 characters simultaneously, and they try to make some fun things with that. Like you switch all the time between these 2 characters. But the puzzles are not very engaging. They're more so just very annoying. There's no item box. You need to leave items on the ground and remember where you left them. It's just miserable. It's miserable. The story is not as stupid as Revelations, but it's still very dumb. It tries to like deepen Albert, like the whole Outbreak thing. How Albert Wesker kind of masterminded all of it. But it's just very forgettable. I don't even remember what the big twists are, honestly.
Okay.
So
yeah.
You know what? I'm not like telling you not to play it. I'm just telling you that you know what?
Okay.
You're probably better off playing something else.
You don't need to. Yeah.
You don't need to. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Only if
I've
you're very
got
starved.
recommendations of like the entire list, and I'm like, oh god, that's a lot of extra stuff in between the ones I knew. But yeah, okay, good to know. Code Veronica is good, but
Happy
yeah.
to help,
Anyway,
you know.
next one will be 3 if I survive 2. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, 2 and then Claire's story, and then 3 eventually.
Yeah.
yeah. Stick to the. I think the whole gist of Jan's thing was just stick to the number. Yeah, I think the number,
Yeah.
because even like Resident Evil 6, is that a great game? No, it's not. But it's better than, I would say it's probably better than Revelations and Zero. I would think. What would you
Oh,
say?
come on. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes.
Okay, so there you go. So
But I
6
mean,
is
it's
good.
like,
It's
but
decent.
it's like,
You know.
like say, I mean, it's weird telling that something's better than Revelations. So it's like saying, it's like the bar is in hell. So yeah, sure, Resident Evil 6 is better, but
The bars in hell. That's good. I'll use that one. Yeah, no, it's a fun series, man. I mean, like I think like Jan was saying, like I don't think we're sitting here saying that the narrative is gonna like blow you away in any of these games. It's not like it's
but it's cool.
Last of Us, but it is cool though. Yeah, I agree. It feels like 90s, like if you like the Matrix, like I just watched all the Matrix movies, it kind of has that same, it has that, it's grounded in horror, but then you have more of like a science fiction type feel to them, especially with like the virus and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Does that make, I feel like
It
a
feels
science
kind
fiction
of
type thing,
feels kind of nostalgic, even though like I haven't played them before, but it kind of has that nostalgic vibe, I guess. The setting.
Were you alive in the 90s?
Yes, I was.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I was born in 1990.
Oh wow.
Oh well, good. So maybe that's why nostalgic too. It's
yeah. Well, I
like
mean,
year,
I didn't.
it?
Yeah, I think just the setting and the type of storytelling, feels.
It's very 90s.
Kind of, yeah. It feels like old school. I think that's why I really enjoyed the first game as well, because it was, yeah, it was like an old game, and I don't think I'd played like a really old game like that in a long time. So it was really cool and really different. And at first I was like, whoa, this is like, okay, I don't know anything. I don't recognize, like, I don't even know how this game works. And then, yeah, you just get super into it, and like you start to realize like, oh, I get it. I get why it's so popular. Why people really liked this and how it works. And then, yeah. And then what was I going to say? Because you're saying, Dylan, that you're scared of like a lot of these games when you were young. And I was just like, when you said that, all I could think about was Silent Hill.
Oh yeah.
And just like
man,
watching my brother playing it. I don't think I might have attempted to play it a little bit, but I was watching my brother playing it, and I was watching it, and I was just like so scared. Terrifying.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
Resident
didn't
Evil can
hold
be
back.
scary, but no, Silent Hill is mad.
Yeah,
Mad
and I don't
scary.
even remember like details about the game or what even happens. I just remember like loads of fog. Like I guess it's
Flash.
the beginning of the game probably, where there's just like loads of fog and some weird flying thing that attacks you through a window
Yeah,
or
the
something.
pterodactyl. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know anything after that. I don't even know if we survived after that. But yeah,
Silent Hill is pretty wild. Like I'm kind of fairly new to that franchise. I think like it's funny because like I think Jan was more of the Silent Hill guy, and then I was more of the Resident Evil guy. And so like I don't really know much about. I've actually just had to like go on the wiki pages and just looking up things about Silent Hill because it's such a trippy like just narrative. And it's, I mean, honestly, when it comes to like I guess a narrative story, like I feel like I lean more towards Silent Hill because it has more of that mind F
It's
kind of thing.
psychological,
like,
yeah.
Resident Evil is more of just like it has those horror moments, but it's more of just like 90s cheese, like, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of has that like 90s like action, well, horror / action, and then you have Silent Hill that's just like a mind F, like you don't know what is up and what's down, where you're at. It's like it's crazy. I'm looking forward to the remake, but I thought the remake gameplay looked pretty shit. If I'm being honest, it needs more. It needs more time.
No,
It looks bad.
like fans were already like kind of skeptical when they found out that Bloober Team was remaking it. Bloober Team is just made a lot of mediocre games. Is making a lot of mediocre games in the last few years. So it's great because St. Hill is back, but it's kind of a
Mm.
monkey's paw kind of situation.
I know. I feel bad for you, man, because I know Jan was looking forward to that Silent Hill 2 remake, and
Yeah.
I mean, look,
And then the trailer drops.
it might still be decent by the time we get our hands on it, but that gameplay
At
looks
least the
horrible.
soundtrack will be great because Akira Yamaoka is coming back to rearrange the soundtrack. So
Oh yeah, that'll be
at
good.
least
At
that's
least
gonna
gonna be
be great.
solid. Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
good. But everything else looks pretty
Yeah.
bad. I'm not even gonna lie. But no, that's great. It sounds like to me you're gonna be Emma. It sounds like you're a fan
You
of
got busy.
Resident Evil, and you're gonna
Yeah,
stick with it and see it through. So that's good. I can't wait to see
yeah.
the
I'm happy
gameplay.
I'm surviving.
Yeah, it's super fun, man. It's a series. I enjoy it with every single installment, man. I never get old of that looting, surviving, trying to find all resources. I just never get tired of that gameplay loop. Like we bring it back to The Last of Us, right? Like that gameplay loop is so simple. We've seen it before. But why is it so damn addictive? You go into a house, you look at their drawers, you're trying to find ammo, trying to make med kits, and it's just I don't know what it is. It's something about it that's just
It's
still
damn
like
good. That's what it is.
but it's just like we've seen it. It's still a fun gameplay mechanic. Just looking around looting, it feels just like it's intense because you don't know what if you're gonna go into a room or whatever, and there's like
Yeah.
full of infected or whatever. It's super fun. Games are great when you really like. I missed it. I miss playing, but in an appropriate amount. But I'm telling you, like what video games can do and what kind of medium it does, it really can. It's such a fun time, especially when that game really hits. You know what I'm saying? Like The Last of Us.
Yeah. And the Resident Evil, what you were saying about the gameplay loop of Resident Evil and everything, like even like the puzzles in Resident Evil,
Yeah,
they're very obvious. Like you'll find a hand that clearly belongs on a statue that's missing a hand, but like you still get so much. Okay, most of the puzzles are like that. Some of them require more thinking, but a lot of the time you're like, oh, I found a thing that needs to go here, and I saw that earlier, and I need to go back there and put this there. So you know what to do, but it's the danger is what's going to be waiting for me when I go back down that hallway. I need to go back to my stash and get the other thing and put it with this thing to solve the puzzle. But like, so it might be like an obvious solution to the puzzle, but like it's all the other dangers that make it like super satisfying when you like actually get to where you're going and do what you need to do. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I was like, yeah, they do make it very clear like what you have to do, but it's the like, yeah, but now you have to go back to that room that you thought was safe, and now there's a new enemy there in the corner.
Yeah, it's such a blast. It really is such a good time. But speaking of good times, this was a good show. Really enjoyed
Fantastic.
bringing Emma from Once Upon a Quest, content creator of her YouTube channel, back on the show to talk to us about The Last of Us. Emma, before we get out of here, would you want to tell the people that who watch us later, because a lot of our views come later. What you want to tell the people watching this show, what you got going on, your channel as a whole. I know you've seen some big growth in your channel, and it's really awesome to see that for you. I mean, what all do you got planned and things that people can look forward to?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It was really fun to deep dive into The Last of Us 2 and other topics as well. Yeah, so at the moment, I am still finishing up Resident Evil 2. I'm going to play Claire's story next. Then we had a poll recently. So the next two games that have been voted that are going to be next on the channel are Detroit Become Human and Uncharted 4 as well. So those are the next games that are in the queue that are going to be happening. So yeah, I'm very excited to because Detroit Become Human has been on my radar for quite a while, and obviously I've been enjoying the Uncharted series for a while now on YouTube as well. So I'm excited to play 4, and then after that probably continuing the Resident Evil series as well. So that's what's coming up, and you can find me at Once Upon a Quest on YouTube. On Instagram, I'm Upon a Quest on Twitter /X, and I'm also on Threads now, but I never use that one, to be honest. But yeah, Once Upon a Quest pretty much on most things. But yeah, that's
and
we'll
have all that information down in the comment section below. That way you guys can easily click on that for your reference. Jan, is there anything else you'd like to say to the people before we close this one out?
Oh man, I was actually kind of you got me. I wasn't prepared for this.
You wasn't okay, go ahead.
No.
Come on.
You're just
finish the show.
Can't wait. Can't wait to see you on the show again. You're playing so much stuff that we kind of like, so I can definitely see another collaboration coming in the
That's
Yeah,
future if
sure.
you're up for it.
Yeah,
So,
sure. It's so much fun. I was like so excited for this because I was like, I get to just talk about video games for 2 hours. It's so fun.
Isn't
Like,
that great?
yeah, we're just talking about it and stuff. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's like Jan
Life's
said. Yeah.
pretty
I mean,
cool sometimes.
yeah, it is, dude. It really is. And yeah, like Jan was saying, Emma, you play a lot of the games that we play. So it's,
Mhm.
we're always somehow, and not, we don't have to get into this, but somehow, no matter what we talk about, we always go back to just some of our favorite games, like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Last of Us. We always find a way to come back to those. Uncharted is another one that we love. Actually, I was dabbling with Uncharted 3 a few nights ago, just kind of dabbling with that, and it's because I missed that feeling. I missed that feeling of playing as Nathan Drake, going on another adventure. It's just, I missed that. So yeah, definitely, we love having you on. That's what we waited desperately. You guys don't understand. We waited desperately. It sounds bad. But I was like, Emma was she was so fun. Emma was so fun to have on the show last time. We knew, we're like, listen, we love The Last of Us. We want to talk about it. We don't want to sound like babbling idiots because we keep bringing it up. So let's just make an excuse, have Emma back on, and then we can talk about it and not feel bad about it. Because otherwise, we're just bringing it up and we're talking about freaking One Piece Netflix show that we mentioned, The Last of Us.
Yeah, we definitely had some derailment in this episode too. But my favorite thing was the imagining what kind of TikToks Tommy and Joel and everyone would have on The Last of Us.
That was a good one.
No, that's a very memorable conversation. We'll have to. Well, maybe that'll be a new theme, right? When we talk about a certain topic, we'll be like, okay, what would Leon and Claire, if they had TikToks or YouTube channels, what would they talk about?
It would be like rookie tips for the Raccoon Police Department. Rookie tips with Leon. Yeah.
Oh
God.
Wait
until they get to 4, then we'll see how much of a rookie he is.
Or just like how to style your hair amazingly in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, and it stays perfect.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, dude?
This hair gel is resistant to blood and zombie guts,
dude,
and it won't move the entire day.
It's what they're using that spray. I'm telling you.
That's what I'm saying. Like honestly, on a tangent, I had a Jan, man, he has some nice long hair. I get so jealous of Jan's hair because I had long hair, and I know how much of a bitch that was to like make it look good. Especially like that's why I wore a hat or a beanie like all the time. I still do now. Like, but I had to cut my hair off because I got tired of styling it, man. And it's like I get so jealous because like if I walk into we have a gas station that's not too far from my house, and every time I go in there, they have these stupid blowers blowing right at the top of the door as I go in. I don't know why. I don't live at the freaking beach.
It's
I don't
just
know why
to mess up your hair.
I go in there and it blows that shit back, and I'm like, dude, I'm cutting this shit off tonight, man. I'm sick of that shit. So it's like, I'm so jealous, man. But anyway, so
hair is hard. It's difficult,
dude. So hard. I feel for you girls. I really do. I do. I feel for you. But all the most badass characters have long hair. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. John Wick, Rick Grimes, Daryl Dixon, freaking who else we got? Yeah. We got Nicolas Cage and Con Air. We got Leon Kennedy.
You were thinking about this.
Man. All the badasses have long hair.
Yeah, you gotta have the hairstyle.
Got to. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching another episode of Deadhead Podcast. I'm sorry, were you gonna say something? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, okay, your homework is to grow more hair. And what was our homework? We both have to platinum The Last of Us.
Oh bullshit!
Because Jan said it was easy.
Give me a break. Yeah, that's not happening. But nice try though. Thank you guys for checking out another episode of Deadhead Podcast, episode 46. Don't forget to follow us everywhere. We have we should be on every social media platform. Links should be in our bio to every respective platform. And Emma, thank you again for coming on the show. We really appreciate you. Hope to have you back on again.
Thank you.
And everybody go check out all of her channels. I'll have that down in the comments as well. And with that being said, we'll see you in the next one. Stay dead, my friends.
Bye.